I'm Rick Cosnett. I play Eddie Thorne, and you are listening to Flashbacks, a Flash rewatch podcast. Justice for Eddie.
Hey guys, welcome to Flashbacks, a Flash rewatch podcast where we're reviewing Smallville today. Don't worry, guys, you clicked on the right podcast. We're just doing something a little different. I promise we'll loop it back to the Flash in some kind of way. But I'm here today with a very special guest. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hello there. I'm Zach Moore from Always Hold On to Smallville. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So, obviously, we actually have been talking for a while about either I think way back, I think it was like this is Inside Baseball, but when you started your podcast kind of earlier on, I think me and you kind of talked about like me possibly coming on or you coming on my thing. It's been it's been a minute, but I'm glad we finally could, get
For
this
sure.
started. Yeah. And you actually had the idea to cover the Smallville. Are we calling it the Smallville movie? What are we what are we referring to this
Oh,
as?
I don't know what we should call this. The Smallville extended pilot, maybe.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Smallville pilot DVD is probably the best thing to describe it as we're talking about.
There you go. Yeah, because I actually became aware of this from your podcast. You guys
Mhm.
talked about this. Was this how you originally saw it back in the day, or you know?
This is how I originally found the pilot of Smallville because I was a little late to the game watching Smallville live. I had seen the second episode, I think, in its first run. And then I was like, "What is this show? Like this guy, he looks like Superman, and this bald guy, this is small. This is a Superman show. Oh my goodness, you know." So I was unaware of it coming out. And then by the time I caught on to it, I'd seen like a rerun of the X-ray episode, and then finally when it was the first episode of the second half of the season, Road was the first episode I saw live, and then I watched it ever since. But then when you miss an episode back in the day, it's hard to go find. So you got to
Yeah.
go online to some websites and most of which sharing file sharing services that don't exist anymore. And I downloaded a lot of stuff and things that I missed to fill in some gaps. And then one of them was the Smallville pilot, and it was this double episode feature length pilot and metamorphosis combination. And this is the only way you can watch this now. This
Yeah.
is the only version of this that exists on this Smallville pilot DVD. And I gotta say, it's my preferred version of watching the pilot. I feel like these two episodes really complement each other, and it really feels like a pilot event. I'm a big Star Trek fan, and in
Mhm.
the '80s and '90s, when all the next generation Star Trek, the next generation era shows came out with Deep Space Nine, Voyager, they'd always come out with these 2 hour feature length pilot episodes, and I was like, well, that makes sense because you need all that time to establish the characters and get to know them and spend time in the universe. And I don't know, it just for all those reasons, I really prefer this version of the pilot. And like if I watch the pilot by itself now, it just feels incomplete without metamorphosis.
Okay, cool. So it's not a Superman TV edit situation here where you were just like, "Oh, this is too long" or something.
No, no. I mean, that's its own thing. All those Superman movie TV edits, like those are all fun variations to have. But yeah, no, this is it, man. This is no, there's no HD version of this. Like I said, like we had to
Yeah.
find this DVD, this pilot DVD here, and I do want to shout out the Starkville House of L guys. They sent me this pilot DVD because I had talked for many uh years about. I need to actually get this actual DVD one day.
Yeah.
And I figured, I don't know, maybe I'd find it somewhere or somebody would
Mhm.
get it to me. And yeah, the Starkville House of L guys, they're another Smallville podcast who I've become friendly with over the years. And Derek over there had an extra one and sent it to me, and that is the copy that I have. So thanks to Derek.
Nice. So obviously we kind of went into just basically like your first time watching like I know are you tired of already like recapping like how you because you kind of already went into your entry into Smallville, but I guess if you want I can go first and you can kind of do because you said you discovered it after the fact. You kind of watched it with your buddy Lance, who also we've been on. Actually, you can go first. You're the guest. You can go
Sure,
first, do your
yeah.
thing.
I mean, I don't know if I'm tired of it. I don't know if other people are tired of me talking about it. They might be tired of hearing me talk about it, but I was the same age as Clark Kent was on Smallville. So it seemed like the perfect show for me because I was a Superman fan. I was a freshman in high school. And I'm like, wow, like I can really relate to this show on a lot of levels, and it really like hits my wheelhouse of interest. So I started watching the show, and yes, my best friend Lance Laster, he is a host of Always on Arrow, which is a spin-off show from
Yeah.
Always on to Smallville. But yeah, him and I, a lot of our friendship was forged watching Smallville back in the day. So there's a lot of nostalgia for that in there. And then when I started the podcast, Lance was one of the key core group of rotating guests, and then of course I expanded and met a lot of other people and expanded because we had the same. If you listen to the first season of Always on Smallville, it's like the same 5 or 6 people, and then I would slowly expand and. But anyway, yeah, watched a lot of episodes together with Lance and I. We were college roommates, so I mean, there's a lot of big chunk of the show that we watched together and that sort of thing. But yeah, I just really connected with the show, and when you're in high school and you get to see Superman in high school, the same year you're in high school. I mean, I always wonder, like, well, if I were like a year younger or a year older, would I have felt this connection to the show that I did? I probably would. But I mean,
Mhm.
because it was so exact, I was like, I graduated high school and he did, So like I'm going through every single year, So you feel like I literally grew up with this show, like literally,
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
it goes 10, no, 10 years. I never expected to go 10 years. I'm like off in adulthood and, I was having a more professional life than Clark was in those middle years there when he was just hanging out on the farm, not doing much. But yeah, I really enjoyed the show with something that, when something's lasts that long and it's that
Mhm.
constant, it's this constant for you, no
Yeah.
matter which day of the week it is, because they changed the day of the week over the course of the 10 years. It went from Tuesday to Wednesday to Thursday to Friday. But just knowing that there was a Smallville episode coming out, whenever you hear that Remy Zero, somebody save me, you get fired up and know you're in for a treat. And yeah, I mean, this really forged Superman as being my favorite comic book hero. I mean, I think. I know you're a big Batman fan. You got your Batman
Yeah.
the podcast and discussions you do. And
Yeah.
being growing up in the 80s and 90s, Batman with the Tim Burton movies and the Joel Schumacher
Mhm.
movies, and then of course the Batman animated series, like he was the guy, but then but for me,
Mhm.
Smallville's what said, you know what, no, Superman's the guy for you. So in a nutshell, that was kind of my fandom and my experience, and yeah, and here I am still years later talking about it. So it's my it's my bread and butter now when it comes to podcasting, talking
Yeah.
about Smallville.
Awesome. Yeah, so for me, I know you've probably heard people got exposed to Smallville in this way, but I was in it's like the fourth season is when I started seeing it. I discovered it was on WB, but ABC Family, they used to have it on
Hmm.
there, and I discovered it. I was like, at first, kind of the same thing like you were talking about, like, what's this show? And then realizing, like, oh, Smallville, and like realizing what Smallville was. And then that was my understanding of Superman for a while. I discovered the fourth season, it was the like because I watched obviously the reruns and then like I was flipping through channels and on WB they were randomly having the fourth season the first episode with Lois's introduction, so I was like, wait,
Hmm.
it's already to to this point
Yeah.
now. I think I was like in second or third grade, but yeah, and that was my understanding of Superman. I don't know if you're much of a writer, but I made some like I'm gonna call it like fan fiction comics when I was younger,
Okay.
which was my understanding of Superman, which I had. I didn't really have the internet at the time, so I had this like animated series like book that was like one of those Discovery Kids books that just like describes Superman as characters, and then also had Smallville. So like in those stories it wasn't done yet, but I'm like, let me try to like project what I think the ending or even when he turns into Superman, what that might be like. I was completely off. Like he had like I didn't feel like drawing the cape. He had like a sleeveless shirt or something, and like
Hmm.
he Lionel was still alive, but he was a cyborg, and the Kawachi caves were a thing in there because that was still a thing on the show. So like a lot of stuff I kind of just was expounding based off like what I had, and then other weird connecting things. I had Lex be taken over by like Darkseid or something, like in
Oh
one of the
well.
stories. Yeah, before Darkseid was even an idea.
I mean, they had Lionel taken took over by Darkseid, so you know it all. If you just throw enough stuff at the wall, man, something's gonna be right, right?
Yeah, I know. And it's I'm gonna say it was one of those things where now I'm briefly gonna plug myself a little bit. I am writing a Smallville audio drama for New Verse Media that's gonna be about Lori Lemaris. It's set between it's in season 2. It's gonna be set
Okay,
between the Red episode and before Nocturne happens, but between those, because I'm just
it's a
like,
very
okay,
specific time right there, huh?
it was
How
before
did
him
you
and
come to that
Lana.
conclusion? How did you come to that conclusion of
It,
setting it there? I'm
It
curious.
was before him and Lana got like really serious, and so it was one of those where also they were kind of like not in a good place. So it's like cool, like they're not talking to each other. That's the only way I could write that to where like he'd have like Lana blinders off basically to allow somebody else, to be in a relationship with him. And plus, like I'm shocked they never tackled Lori Lemaris. I'm gonna write it in a way to where like if it was adapted to TV, like it would work. Like you barely see her like in her full mermaid form most of the time. It's just her with the covering over the wheelchair and everything. So like there's a way they
Hmm.
could do it. It's just.
I mean that's a character for sure. It's surprising that they didn't do. Like there's a
Yeah,
handful of characters you're like, well, this is an obvious thing to do for a young Clark Kent show that ran 10 years. I never got the hair. I mean, it'd be great to have some different love interests for him over the years, other than
definitely.
just Lana. We all loved Lana at the beginning. Everybody did,
Hmm.
right? But
Yeah.
she's around for 7.5 years, and it's time, mix it up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And then also shout out to Anthony Desiato. I've also had him on my other show, the Batman show, but he always talks about Kenny Braverman. So
Yep.
um
Yep. Yeah. Anthony loves the Kenny Braverman. Yeah.
slight spoilers for you guys, but there will be a cameo by Kenny Braverman in the actual script that I'm writing. So I'm looking forward to getting into that.
All right. What about the Mon-El? You want to throw him in there? He's
That
on
might
my list of characters that should have been on Smallville. So,
I might save that for the next one. I'm really hoping that once I write this and I put it out there, that maybe other people will see it and be like, okay, cool, like let's start writing, like inspire other people to maybe write some Smallville audio stuff. That would be kind of cool.
mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, totally looking forward to that. And then I was gonna say, I don't know if you noticed this. This obviously this episode, we're gonna get into plot details after a while, but like, did you notice that this episode it obviously didn't have a theme, but I remember I started up the DVD for it, and it had like the football fantasy theme in it.
Right. I thought, and I don't know the in credit music like the back of my hand, but I feel like that's that same Mark Snow is the composer for Smallville. He did
Hmm.
the X Files, so he's a good composer. It's a good television composer, and
Hmm.
he had these orchestral themes that you didn't hear very often on the show, but you always hear them in the uh in credits. So when I put on this DVD, I'm like, what is this like? Da, 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 da. I'm like, what is this like Superman the Ride music we're listening to right now? But then rewatching the pilot because I did obviously when I put in this DVD, and you're right,
Hmm.
that is the music from when Clark has this daydream about playing football, and I guess that was the most fanfare esque music they had, and that's what they put on the menu. I just thought it was funny. I mean, maybe they didn't want to pay Remy Zero the rights because think about it. That
Yeah.
is something that to point out about the on the Smallville pilot DVD. That's what I'm going to keep referring to it as.
Yeah.
There is no Remy Zero. There's no Somebody Save Me because there's no opening credits in the pilot, and then because they
Hmm.
just edited Metamorphosis onto the end of the pilot, there's no episode break, so there's no opening credits. So it's an iconic part of the show that's not on this. But again, it's an interesting alternate experience. But yeah, it is funny that they had that also on the menu and on the cover itself. They have the
Hmm.
famous season 1 promotional poster of Clark in the cornfield with the S on his chest and Lana's necklace on. They also have
Hmm.
this like Superman logo behind him just to kind of get the point across. It's like, hey
Yeah.
guys, in case you didn't know, this is a Superman show, and I get it because I mean you look at this thing and it says Smallville and it's a guy and
Hmm.
you might not know. I mean, like it took
Yeah.
us a minute to know when we turned on the show, not knowing it,
Right.
right on the TV station. So that's and it's not too obtrusive, and it is like it's I don't know, like it obviously it wasn't part of the original artwork, but I understand why they did it, and it's not an eyesore. Sometimes they try to combine that stuff. It's
Yeah.
an eyesore. I think it was pretty subtle. Also, half step back to what you were saying.
Yeah.
I have a lot of guests that have been on my podcast over the years that found the show through ABC Family. So that was a smart business decision by the
Yeah.
WB to outsource or to license Smallville to ABC Family, because a lot of people found the show that way.
Yeah, definitely. And I also know that in this, I don't know if it's because I checked the season one DVD. This one has like audio commentary through like the whole thing, basically,
Hmm.
which was kind of cool. Is the other one, is it? I haven't gone back to obviously listen to the other one, but I'm kind of wondering if the other one is like that, where it has
Mm.
like different commentary for each one, or if it's just like or if they recorded their own thing just for this. Like
I'll
I'm not
have to,
sure.
I didn't check that. I'll have to see if
Yeah.
Metamorphosis on the DVDs and Blu-rays, the standard ones, has a commentary. But yeah, I mean this that's another reason to track this down, because of that. And
Yeah.
there's deleted scenes that are
Hmm.
that are only available here. And I mean, I think they might have, now that they made the Blu-ray, they might be over there. I'm not sure, but for a while,
They have
this was the only
commentary on them
time.
too.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's an impressive bit of. This is like back in
Yeah.
the 2001 or two, whatever they released this, on DVD. Like that was a good set of special features. I mean, back then, like
Yeah.
you're a Batman guy. Remember the
Hmm.
Batman movies came out, and these little, because this DVD is of the era of the cardboard snapcase DVD. I mean,
Yeah.
you remember how bare bones that stuff was, Like I had the Batman movies on DVD. There was
Hmm.
nothing. It was like,
Yeah.
yeah, flip it over, you get widescreen. Flip it over, you get full screen. That's your special features. And they get the Smallville thing. You got commentaries, deleted scenes, commentaries on the deleted scenes. So it's
You get the Smallville map too.
yeah, the interactive map. So yeah, I mean, now that I have my own, I'll encourage everybody to go out there and find it. Before, I was in competition with all y'all. Like, I don't want you
Yeah.
to have people to buy them all up and there not to be any available. But it's a fun Smallville oddity. If you have a Smallville fan in your life, and they don't have this, look it up on eBay. You can probably still find some out there. So it's a really fun, just alternate way to experience Smallville and have some fun special features.
Definitely. Oh yeah, so going into you mentioned cut scenes and deleted scenes. So I know before you've kind of talked about this. With the pilot, they kind of have like an edited version. I went on YouTube thinking, well, they'll have the full version there because me and my wife, I didn't feel like digging out the DVDs. She wanted to
Hmm.
watch it because she's seen bits and pieces of like seasons, but she wanted to like, let's watch it. Let's watch it from beginning to end. And I was kind of watching it for research for the audio drama that I'm doing. And so, like we started watching it, and then those certain scenes didn't come up, like we mentioned earlier, the football fantasy and stuff, and then like some of the other stuff that we'll obviously get into. But like I was watching it, and I immediately stopped it. I was like, no, I gotta pull out the DVDs. Like you gotta have the full experience if we're gonna watch it like this. We ended up actually watching the pilot DVD because I was like, you know what? Let's just knock both of these out. They're kind of connected anyway, so you have like a unique viewing experience versus like, some of these DVDs and stuff. I can't believe they cut those scenes out in future releases, by the way.
It's interesting that, I mean, I've had a lot of people over the years, comment on the podcast. Like, did you know that there's more scenes that aren't on the Hulu or on the DVD or whatever? Are there other alternately long or short episodes? And I'm always answering this question for people, and when they email me or ask me, and when Smallville first aired, they had like a with limited commercial interruption, right?
Yeah.
So they had an extra few minutes in their first broadcast, and then after that, whenever the pilot got re-aired, it had to be cut down to the normal length,
Hmm.
like even though a time slot on a TV show is an hour, it's usually 42 to 45 minutes for an episode. And I think the pilot of Smallville had like 50 minutes or something like that, right? So they had a few more minutes. So they had this football fantasy. They had Clark stacking the trucks at the end with Whitney's
I
trucks.
can't believe they cut that, man. It's
Right?
like, come on.
That's like essential. And then
Yeah.
and then they had Jonathan and Clark had this heart to heart at the end, like, "Hey, how do you feeling?" Asked me in about 5 years, and
Yeah.
that's like, "Hey, the show's gonna last 5 years." That's a little sign there. That was the plan.
Like Arrow, right?
Yeah, 5 year. I mean, no show in the history of shows should have been a 5 year show more than Arrow. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, and so they had to cut those out, and for whatever reason, those scenes are not available on HD. So when
Mhm.
they upgraded Smallville for Hulu and the Blu-rays, and even actually, I think that was it on the DVDs too. Like the first, I don't know. There's so
Oh,
many
you talking about
versions of this.
the season one DVDs?
Yeah, I'll have to go back
Yeah,
and
they
watch the
they
scene.
have them. They have them on
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Okay. So, but when they go into the Blu-ray and then on Hulu,
Hmm.
it's the shorter version of the pilot.
Yeah. Hmm.
And then, but then when they had the complete series Blu-ray set, that
Yeah.
finally came out. The extended. That's why we got to call this the pilot DVD, because there's the pilot DVD and then there's the extended pilot. The extended pilot is only available in standard definition.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I guess they lost the elements to have those 4 scenes or whatever in HD, which is unfortunate. Now the I mean, we can talk about this now specifically since we're
Sure.
talking about it. I don't mind losing that football fantasy. It's whatever. It's kind of the
Oh,
pilot
really? You
is,
don't like it?
well, I don't dislike it, but the pilot is strange in that, like, Clark has these fantasies that he materializes in his head,
Mhm.
and then, like, is this going to be a thing? And then I guess they decide after they made the pilot, no, we're not doing that anymore. He's not going to just imagine Lana dancing with him and imagine he's the football star. I don't mind it, like, in an isolation.
Yeah.
It was just, to me, it's interesting that, like, clearly they thought they might do that. I think it's kind of
Mhm.
like the Flash. Let's tie in the
Yeah.
Flash, right? And the Flash pilot, the Grant Gustin Flash, obviously.
Mhm.
They do that whole Sherlock Holmes thing where he's like looking at
Yes.
uh
Yeah.
these pilot specific things. Yeah, so he's a crime scene investigator, which
Mhm.
over the course of the show, I wish he would have done more crime scene investigating, but that's its own conversation, right? So,
Yeah.
but they're like, oh, here's a cool thing. They want to show how smart Barry Allen is and how he does
Mhm.
math and can see things. So they, if people know the show Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch, like, it's a
Yeah.
similar visual element where he's like looking at things and you see the math and you see lines and numbers, and so they do that a couple of times with Barry Allen on the pilot for the CW Flash. And I guess they decided, nah, we're not going to do that anymore. So he never does it in the show. I kind of equate those two things, I guess. I don't look.
Mhm.
We've all been there. We've all sit there and fantasized about being the star the way Clark does.
Yeah.
But of all of the things they removed, that was the least egregious.
That's
I mean,
fair.
he got to get revenge on Whitney for putting him in the field. I mean, that's a classic Superman thing that I call it lighthearted revenge. Same thing in Superman
Yeah.
2. Same thing in Man of Steel. Man of Steel was a little more, maybe a little more extreme. I think when
Yeah.
he destroyed that guy's truck and those power lines. But it's the same. He comes back to that diner in Superman 2 and gives that bully a taste of his own medicine. And
It's worse in the other cut, man, because that guy doesn't even know who he is, and
yeah,
he
and
just beats him up.
oh my goodness, the Donner cut breaks so many things. Unfortunately, I love a lot about the Donner cut, but narratively,
Yeah.
it's like, who are you? So, um, and then the final scene, like, it's just a big emotional. You need that emotional payoff with Clark and
Mhm.
Jonathan at the end of the pilot. I can't.
Right.
I don't know what else you cut. Like, I understand cutting the fantasy, but it's like,
Mhm.
God, could we trim something else? But anyway, I'm very happy that now, between all these different versions out there that exist, we have the complete pilot. And there is a what are we talking about? 3 versions now.
Mhm.
There's a 4th version of the pilot, which I don't know if you can find anywhere. It's the unaired pilot.
Yeah.
You can find it online if you know where to look. And I found that back in the day when I was on those file share sites.
Mhm.
That's a version of the pilot I found.
Yeah.
And it's with Cynthia Ettinger, the original Martha Kent. They recast her between the pilot and the show with Annette O'Toole, which is crazy because Annette O'Toole is this amazing legacy casting because she played Lana Lang in Superman 3. And, like, yeah, I mean, to me, she's Martha Kent, right? But to think they had a different actress at the time. And I don't know, no one ever really explains why they replaced her, but, I mean, they film, back in the day they did this. I don't think they do it anymore with TV shows the way
Mhm.
production is, but they filmed this pilot. They submit it to the network, it gets greenlit, and then they go to series. So there's a giant gap of, like, months between when they film the pilot and they film the first proper episode, the second episode of the series. And in between there, they recast Martha Kent with Annette O'Toole.
Definitely.
So,
Yeah.
you can see where, like, they just refilm parts of scenes and certain scenes and cutaways with Annette O'Toole. And it's interesting to go compare. And there are a few micro differences. I can't tell you what they are off the top of my head, honestly, but there are a few
Mhm.
micro differences in that unaired pilot from the real
Yeah.
pilot. I do remember one thing specifically is because this is a scene with Martha, so that's why they refilmed it. It's when uh in 1989 when, like, the parade starts coming down the street, like, woo, and Jonathan's like, oh, looks like Smallville won again. But in the unaired pilot, he's like, wow, looks like Smallville actually won a game. Like, I
Yeah.
remember, I distinctly remember that change. I was like, well, that's a very strange change to make just out of nowhere. But
Yeah.
anyway, so there are 4 versions of this pilot out there, everybody, and you can track 3 of them down through legal means. I don't know about the 4th one, but
Yeah.
it's there's a lot of options out there if you want to watch the Smallville pilot.
Definitely. Yeah, that actually, funnily enough, that was one of my notes here. Like, it's a little bit more cynical in the other version. Like, obviously,
Yeah,
like, Jonathan seems a little bit, maybe they were like, hey, let's make this a little
soften
bit
that up.
more. Yeah, yeah, make it a little bit more hopeful, maybe.
Hmm.
But yeah. So let's go into the plot description. So we open on a spaceship. And, like, we're obviously in space. We see it go past the moon, surrounded by meteors as it heads towards Earth. And I'm going to stop right here for a second. We don't obviously have to take too long on a tangent here, but we obviously get the second meteor shower, and I had a thought. So, like, he's weak to kryptonite, right? So, like, if there's a second meteor shower, shouldn't Clark be, like, affected by, like, the crashing meteors and everything? Or am I just forgetting something from the fourth season when it happens again?
Oh, in season 4. First of all, I think
Yeah.
a second meteor shower is a ridiculous idea.
Yeah.
I think that's dumb, honestly. I just
Hmm.
like what do you mean a second meteor shower? Because I think the meteor shower itself is a brilliant idea,
Hmm.
right? Because it conceals the spaceship, uh, it creates weaknesses for Clark everywhere with kryptonite, and it creates a mutation for people, for him to fight. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
every version of Superman should have this meteor shower. Now, I think that was a genius thing by Alan Miles who came up with that. A second meteor shower, not so genius, but yeah, I mean, he's running around saving people during the
Hmm.
second meteor shower. It is cool. So commencement is a fun episode. It's really
Yeah.
exciting, but just the concept of a second meteor shower is
Yeah.
kind of dumb. And like, how close does he have to be to the rocks? I mean,
Yeah.
you can play your head canon all day with that. I mean, doesn't he gets hit by a meteor, right? When he saves that kid, one of the best saves of the
Yeah, I
series,
think you're
right? I mean,
right.
like, doesn't he get hit? I guess there was no kryptonite in that meteor rock. It was just a rock. Because the thing about Smallville that's a little different, I think, than any version that had come before is, and I agree with this version of Smallville.
Hmm.
Kryptonite's like it's like these gems inside these meteors, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think before it was always like a big giant glowing rock, like the whole thing is kryptonite.
Yeah.
And in Smallville, it's like, well, here's a meteorite, but then it has the little pieces in there, so
Makes more sense.
you can get away with that, I guess. But you're right. You would think if like if you were getting rained down from the sky with radiation everywhere, you would
Yeah.
be a little more compromised in season 4. So
Because they have a whole like plot line, and it obviously Lex Luthor has something to do with it in the Public Enemies arc, but there's like that whole thing of like that giant, isn't it like a giant kryptonite like meteor
yeah,
too? Yeah, so
and Superman Batman, yeah, it's a giant kryptonite meteor, and then Supergirl's spaceship ends up being
yeah.
inside it. So yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, crazy. But so cut to a helicopter going past the cornfield and a town sign for Smallville, and this is important, lists the population as 25,001. We'll see that change later. Close
Mhm.
up on an article that reads Queen CEO missing, presumed dead. So like this originally, like obviously Lionel was holding it. So like this originally was supposed to be like Green Arrow, right? Like that was supposed to be like him missing, not his parents missing necessarily, like that Easter egg maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't obviously they retcon it later on,
Yeah,
but in 2001 when they haven't even considered Green Arrow being a fit character on the show, because why would you back then,
yeah,
right? That was clearly a reference to Oliver. Why would the Queen Industry CEO who goes missing not be Oliver Queen, the Queen Industry CEO who goes missing, and the Green Arrow origin? It worked out. I mean, Smallville did a lot of retcons. Some of them
hmm,
didn't make any sense. Some of them
yeah,
did. Uh, but it doesn't really break mythology to say his parents went missing.
yeah,
And even look, even on the show Arrow, that would be accurate because him and his dad go missing. So,
yeah. There you go.
but yeah, that's a cool. What became a cool Easter egg, right? And a prop became like an entire plot line years later on this show. Who would have thought? They certainly didn't know.
Yeah, no. So like obviously Lionel is holding it and he yells at his son Lex to open his eyes. Their leaders will never get anywhere with your eyes closed. So we cut inside a flower shop. We see a little girl in a fairy princess costume playing. We meet the Kents and Nell, who is happy to see Jonathan and less than thrilled to see Martha. She suggests a tiger orchid, but Martha wants tulips. She says she has like some crack about them being an uncomplicated flower, and Martha rolls her eyes. So obviously later we'll kind of get into this like later on in the show, like not the episode we're covering, but like they used to date and this actually factors into that audio drama I was writing. So the Lori Lemaris character is going to be that one that got away kind of aspect to her character, basically. And so I was going to have a scene where Jonathan talks about he had a similar experience, then he met Martha later. And then my wife
Mm.
pointed out, oh, do you mean like Nell was the one that got away? Because they obviously, Jonathan and her date. I was like, oh no, like it's got to be some other random person. So I got to specify like he dated around after that, then found Martha, basically was the point. Because yeah, what do you think about because they don't really ever do much with this other than maybe Lana having a line about it later about how they used to date.
Yeah, it's a plot line they dropped really. I mean, I don't know what else to do with it, so it's fine. They didn't really take it any
Yeah.
further, but I don't know. It added more I don't know, more adult stories, which have been nice. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't not that I don't again I don't know what you do with that because it doesn't
Hmm.
make Nell look very good, does it? Well, like throwing
No.
shade at Jonathan's wife. I'm like, why are we setting her up like calling Martha uncomplicated? Like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, like I don't mind that they didn't like dwell on it any further, but it was
Hmm.
at least would have given. I'm always looking for like more adult characters around in here. Like
Yeah.
Nell was she's a supporting guest star in the first season, but she doesn't really do that much, and then she's gone by the middle of the second season. And I just like the fact that these people had parents,
Yeah.
and that because they are kids, and it helps remind you, even though they all look older, Tom Welling especially, but he's an alien, so it's fine.
Yeah.
That's how you can explain that. But having parent figures around helps ground the show a little more, and so I don't know, having some edge or sauce to that relationship with Nell and everybody else might have been helpful. But
Right.
again, it doesn't paint her in a very nice light, does it?
No. And obviously rewatching the show, I know that like my wife was when we were watching it, just because she looks different in this scene versus later, she's like, "Oh, did they recast her?" Is what she said like later. Just like that's because her hair is different, maybe, or so she does look different.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's 12 years earlier, so they did little
Yeah.
subtle things to make them all look a little bit younger. So
Yeah, but it's funny. So Jonathan loads up the truck as Martha looks longingly, smiling as like he knows what she wished for, like with like a younger Lana to see a little face. That's all she ever wanted. They kiss and are interrupted by some horns blaring as cars go by their
hmm.
parked car. And then like obviously we talked about this earlier, Smallville 1 again,
Yeah.
Jonathan says. And then like, that deleted scene we kind of mentioned earlier. Not deleted scene, the different scene from the original pilot. But this all feels very classic Americana, the cheerleaders on the back of the convertible
Yep.
waving and flags
Main
waving.
Street USA. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's very, I know like obviously it's different tones in a different show, but like Superman and Lois's Smallville like feels like so like gritty and
Yeah.
everything versus this one, which feels much more like Rockwell, like to me at least.
Yeah, which was always like the idea of
Hmm.
Smallville. I mean, I know Alan Miles Elgoff and Miles Millar who created Smallville. They've referenced the Superman the movie segment
Yeah.
that takes place in Smallville as their inspiration. I
Mhm.
mean, obviously that Clark had a very different history than this Clark, but the
Yeah.
vibe, right? The again, like you said, Norman Rockwell,
Hmm.
that kind of wholesome Americana, right? And yeah, you're right. And I mean, yeah, the Smallville Superman and Lois probably the most fleshed out version we've seen,
Yeah.
but not really a place you'd want to live. Doesn't seem
No.
so. This seems like and in the 80s, this is 1989.
That's true.
I did notice this time watching. I'm like, you know what? These cars look a little older. Good job, prop department. Like they went,
Hmm.
they didn't have a bunch of like I didn't see any like 2001 cars out there. They found some
Yeah.
cars from the 80s. So good job.
Yeah, definitely. So we cut to space as we see the ship and meteors break through the Earth's atmosphere. Back at the cornfield, Lex throws a rock at a crow, kind of showing even before the accident, he was kind of a mean kid. Like just that subtle moment.
I like that too. Because they say people who abuse animals.
Hmm.
There's a correlation there between people who are like, well, specifically serial killers, but
Definitely.
I wouldn't call Lex Luthor a serial killer, but it just shows some kind of mean, like you said, meanness, cruelness. It's a
Yeah.
little hint of
Hmm.
of that, and I like that. It's a blink and you miss it, but it says a lot through a little.
Yeah. And also my wife is like a big fan of like crows and ravens and stuff. So
Oh, wow,
she
the
she
public enemy
yeah.
number one over here. Relax now. For
Yeah, no. So Lionel calls him over. Lionel is signing a contract with the Ross family for their cream corn factory. Lex explores the vast cornfield. He hears someone calling for help faintly and gets spooked. He runs. As he runs, he tries to use his inhaler but trips and falls, dropping it. He grabs it out of breath and scoots towards a post to lean on. He hears the voice say, "Hey, kid," and turns to see a thin teen tied up in his boxers to a wooden cross with the red S painted on his chest. He begs for help. So, like, obviously, obviously, we have him look like this to set up Clark later to kind of do that Superman like
hmm.
stuff. But like, I know they kind of point out how cruel this is, but I'm like, yo, this is like going beyond like some just like bullying. It's like Stephen King
Well,
bullies in here, man.
Even the Romans save that for special occasions. It's one of my favorite Lex lines about this, as he says later in the pilot DVD, because it's in this episode in this version.
There you go.
Yeah, pretty extreme, pretty
Mhm.
extreme. I mean, hazing, high school stuff. That that all happens. I'm not saying that happened, but
Yeah.
yikes, man! And to think that they still did that after someone got hit by a meteorite, you know. And then quick aside, I've always said like, okay, you know what they should have done in season 4 when Clark is
Mhm.
like the captain of the football team or whatever. Like,
Right.
hey guys, you know this thing that we do, we're not going to do it anymore. Like, I feel like they should have revisited that because it's a huge thing of the show. The iconic poster of the show and
Yeah.
the kickoff event of so much is Clark turning into them turning Clark into the Scarecrow. You think he would change the rules, but yeah. I mean, I was fortunately never hazed like this in high school.
Jesus.
But yeah, this would really suck. So I mean,
Yeah.
I guess they come take him. I guess because the 2 times we see it, all this other crisis is happening around it. But I guess
Mhm.
on a quote unquote normal homecoming, they come the next day and they take him down, or is that what
Yeah.
happens? Or like,
Like, I don't know how it's gone this long. I'm surprised, like, because I'm thinking, like, this is a regular thing. Like, no one, I guess it's like, teens, though, too. They want to fit in and they don't want to, like, call out somebody in fear of, like, reprisal or
right?
something like that. So maybe it's something like that. But I'm like, I'm surprised no one's ever pressed charges to, like, get
Yeah.
this
Well, the
stopped.
'80s was a different time, so
Yeah, that's
yeah.
fair. But so a meteor whizzes in the background behind the teen and impacts behind Lex, who is terrified. A large cloud billows towards Lex, and he runs as it hits the tied up teen, but he's not quick enough. It hits him too. Back in the town of Smallville, the townsfolk pause as they see the smoke trail in the sky. Nail carrying little Lana comes out to see what happened. Her parents are here and call to her. A meteor comes down and they pause, frozen, as it hits and kills them, also blowing up their car. That was like one of those moments where like I like to just think like maybe they got frozen in fear, but they kind of like those actors just kind of like stare at it, like they
Mhm.
don't run or do anything. They're kind of like, oh, look at this
Yeah.
thing like coming towards us, basically.
Yeah, it's like those classic Superman saves where you see somebody look up in the sky and like,
Yeah.
hey, you could run. I'm like, you're lucky Superman's here to catch this crane that's about to fall on you, but sure, just look up there and stare at it. But
Right.
it did strike me because then we see like that poor little Lana, like I see her
Hmm.
crying at the end. Like you actually you feel like that would be scarring if you saw your
Yeah.
parents killed by a meteorite like literally 100 feet away from you. So you get why she's kind of obsessed with this and wears this necklace all the time. So to me that tracks, and she talks about her dead parents all the time. But you know what? If my parents died in a meteor shower 100 feet away from me when I was
Yeah.
4 years old, whatever, I would talk about it every day too, probably, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So the town is thrown into chaos as meteors destroy everything. Lana sobs still in Nell's arms. Near the cornfield and Smallville sign, meteors hurl towards the Kents as they try to avoid them. The sign is destroyed as well as part of the road. Lionel searches for Lex amidst the demolished cornfield. He finds a piece of his hair and finds Lex almost completely bald. He's disgusted. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, it's what I was pointing this out to my wife too. I'm like, I know it's a different time, and the whole point is he's supposed to be Lex Luthor, but I'm like, I mean, like, I think later on they give him a wig or something, but I'm like, they could have done like implants or something like that, like like to give him hair back. I don't know.
Yeah, no, and again, the little subtle things, the losers, right? Like with Lex throwing the rock at a bird
Yeah,
earlier, like Lionel just like the look of disgust on his face, like a normal parent would be like, "Oh my god, my son!" Right? But he like backs off. He's like, "Oh my god, like my son's a freak now." And then, of course, Lionel keeps growing his hair out over the course of
yeah,
the show. So that's the hair thing. It's so interesting with
mhm,
them, and that's the last we see of John Glover.
yeah.
You know,
That's a
uh,
good point, actually. I didn't realize that.
you forget that he was a special guest star, like, oh yeah, come in for a couple scenes, and he becomes a crucial pillar of the show. And there's a let's get a 5th version of the pilot up in here, Alex. Let's get someone to edit Lineage. It's a
Yeah,
season 2 episode that flashes back to all these events. Let's edit that into this and get a 5th version of the pilot, because I think what's smart about that, I think about that because we get to see what happens with Lionel after this. We don't hear.
mhm,
But what was so cool about that was it was early enough in the show. One, there
mhm,
wasn't enough things to contradict things that happened before. Two, everybody was like looked young enough and it fit right in. So like I didn't
yeah,
question anything in that episode. So there you go. Get
yeah.
to work on that, somebody out there. Make that 5th version of the pilot. But yeah, that's an episode wrap for John Glover here.
Yeah, and then we can also include that part from season 8 where we see the
No, 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 no,
the
no.
leak out, and it's Davis.
No, we're not.
Oh wait, we
We're
don't want
not
that in
doing
there.
season 8. No, 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 no.
Oh man, but yeah, speaking of retcons,
Yep.
that would be I would that could be a cool fan edit. I could definitely see someone putting that together.
Mhm.
But yeah, so the Kents wake up, their car upside down as Jonathan and Martha see a little naked boy smiling
Yep.
at them. Martha carries him in a blue blanket, and then obviously we have these iconic lines. Kids just don't fall out of the sky, Martha, and then it's like, where'd he come from? I don't know. He must have parents. And then Jonathan comes upon an ash-covered spaceship. So I know obviously you like talking about the different iterations of the ship. So this one, I kind of couldn't get like a solid, obviously you call it the artichoke ship. So like I was looking at, I couldn't get a solid read of like, because you see it in space a little bit, but I'm like, what exactly happened to it? Because I'm looking, I'm like, it's kind of burnt, but it looks bizarre looking.
It's strange when we talk about things that look different. Like I think continuity is important, visual and story continuity, but I
Hmm.
give pilots, like a little leadway. It's like, look, we're inventing the show. Again, there's that gap between when they do a pilot and when they do the show proper. Like you see stuff like the letter jackets change, the sets change, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Between these two episodes actually, but
Right, the
the
wall of weird.
yeah,
Yeah.
this spaceship specifically, it's like I like the Smallville spaceship when they settled on what it looked like in
Yeah.
mid season one, whatever. I think it's Stray. Maybe the first
Hmm.
episode we see the proper spaceship. Yeah, like even in the pilot itself, the two spaceships don't match. Like the
Yeah.
CGI spaceship in space doesn't look like the one on the ground, and they just didn't. They were just figuring it out. Like I
Right.
think it's smart that we didn't really get a really good look at it.
Yeah.
That worked out pretty well. That it's just kind of buried by some dirt and maybe they weren't too proud of it either, and that's why they
Hmm.
obviously ended up changing their mind of what it should look like because as we'll see, they had a whole prop later that Jonathan shows Clark, and they threw that away and made a different spaceship. So yeah, I mean, of all these, the if you want to have some headcanon, like, oh look, the ship was in space, and then when it came down to Earth, like the outer shell,
Yeah.
came
There
out,
you
and then
go.
it was that. And then as we
Yeah,
can
that
see,
works.
the spaceship does shapeshift as we see in season two.
Yeah.
So maybe that's part of that. But there you go. That's the
Yeah.
artichoke ship there. And
Yeah.
what are we gonna tell people, Martha? We found him in a field. We didn't find him. He found us. It's a beautiful line, which again is echoed in that scene they delete
Yeah.
when they make the shorter version of the pilot. Uh,
We
and
don't
also,
need this. It totally loops back into the episode and pays off that
yeah,
line, but we
it's
don't need that. Like, what are you
it's like
guys
poetry.
doing?
It rhymes. That's essential to have, and they got rid of it. But I think that's a beautiful sentiment of the show, and I think that says a lot about the whole show is about him and the Kents and their family dynamic, and that says a whole lot about it, and it's a really powerful
Definitely.
line, I think.
Yeah. And then like obviously the cut to today on Kent Farm, Clark is using a search engine called quote ProNet Online in search of unexplained phenomenon. And so this is what I was telling you guys about. This is the part where we're going to loop it back into like a flash kind of thing. So like it
Hmm.
kind of loosely fits for this special we're doing. So Clark is just looking at like other people around the world with powers. He's also like speaking of a pilot, I've only seen him do this in the pilot. He like reads super fast too. Like his eyes are like darting like really fast as he like reads the screen. Basically, I've
Hmm.
only seen that in this episode.
Yeah, I think they might imply it later on, like way later in the show, but we never see that kind of speed because usually we see Clark just leisurely reading a book in his
Right.
loft, and it's like. I mean, yeah, Superman would. I guess he would do that. We don't really think about. You think
Yeah.
of the Flash doing stuff like that. Speaking of the Flash, but not
Especially
so
the
much Superman.
90s one, the 90s show, which I know you're a big fan
Oh
of.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. He's always moving papers around,
yeah.
all that fast stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, they hadn't really. I'm convinced that they thought Clark already had some of these powers they didn't give him yet. Like
Yeah.
like super hearing. Like I'm convinced that they already said. Well, of course he already has super hearing, but because then there's an episode in season three where he gets it. But like in these
Yeah.
early, specifically the first season, like he's always hearing stuff other people don't, or like
Yeah.
he has headphones on but can still hear. And maybe the speed reading was something else. They were like, oh well, surely he'll
Yeah.
do that. So it's kind of a weird visual though. So I guess that's why they didn't go back to it very often.
Definitely. Getting into this, the Clark
Mhm.
is obviously looking at an article about someone that's dubbed the fastest man alive, setting a new record for the 100-meter dash. And apparently he completed it in 2.4 seconds, being the previous 6.1 seconds. He was submitted to a drug test, but the traces came back negative. So like, who is this? who is this guy, you'd ask? Is it Barry Allen? Is it Jay Garrick? No, it's someone called Scott Higgs. Like at first I was like, cool, like it might be this, like it might maybe we could say it's Barry or something, but I'm like, no, it's just Scott Higgs, whoever, like I didn't find anything online. Maybe that's just a name they wrote in, because usually sometimes if it's a random name, like you'd assume it's like some shout out to somebody they know or
Hmm.
something like that. But he's like he runs faster than anyone he knew. So like there's a like we can kind of, because I know you sometimes like doing this, like theorizing, like maybe like if we were to do like kind of like a fan fiction-y thing, maybe this is like a Jay Garrick or like a cause or a Barry Allen,
Hmm.
because later on we will meet Smallville's version of the Flash and he steals some people's identities and stuff. So
Mm.
like maybe this
That's his real
is
name. Oh my
yeah.
goodness, we figured it out.
There we go.
I don't know. Like I think Smallville, especially early Smallville here, right? Like
Mhm.
this was not the time to be dropping Bruce
No.
Wayne and Barry Allen Easter eggs. So I think it's cool that it shows that Clark is researching this stuff because he's like, look, I'm fast, I'm strong. Is there anyone else there out there like me? That sort of thinking.
Yeah.
So it shows what character wise for him. I do. It would have been. I don't know. Well, we say that, but we just saw Queen Industries CEO missing in.
Come on. Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
You know what? I take it all back. I take it all back. Just should have had who was going to pause, right? That screenshot. I mean, nowadays it's easy for us to do, but back
Yeah.
then a little more difficult. Have it say Barry Allen or Jay
Yeah.
Garrick if you really want to go that route. Jay Garrick probably a deeper cut, obviously.
Mhm.
So yeah, maybe they should. Maybe they should have. What harm
Yeah.
would it have done, Alex?
Our first speedster too. Like if you want to look at
Yeah.
it like that, this is Smallville's first speedster. But
Well,
there
then
is,
then I would argue that if you have superpowers, you shouldn't be playing sports, which is Jonathan's point too. So.
yeah, well, maybe he'll change his mind by season 4. But
Maybe.
anyway. So there is an article about a 6-year-old Korean boy who lifted a car off his injured father, similar to Superman the movie. But
Yeah.
also, have you seen any of the Incredible Hulk, like the pilot for the 70s show?
Oh, right, yeah, the TV show with Lou Ferrigno and
Yeah.
Bill Bixby, yeah.
Yeah, that first episode where they do that, because I know that's like an old, like obviously usually it's like the whole thing with adrenaline, like you hear that. I don't know if it's like a wives' tale or something, but you always hear like that
That
story.
mother who could lift a car to save her kid, right? I mean, that's
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
exactly. So it
I
reminded me of
mean,
that.
looking at it through the Superman lens, of course, we're gonna say, "Oh, it's just like Superman the movie," but it's
Mm.
actually like a wider, societal, yeah, folk's tale, wives' tale, whatever we're gonna call it.
Yeah,
But yeah, but I'm glad we saw these, and I don't, you know what? It's funny. I don't think Clark ever researches any of this ever again because he is 100% dependent on Chloe for the rest of the show for this kind of stuff. So
definitely. Yeah, they gotta give they gotta give Chloe something to do, I
yeah,
guess. But
Chloe, you
yeah.
have an internet connection, don't you? Can you look?
Yeah, yeah. Can you look this up? You have like these, like it's your thing you talk about, like her unseen connections. That was definitely again, like kind of making something different of this, talking about a little bit something different. I was writing the story for the audio drama and I wanted to include Pete more. So
Hmm.
like obviously there's that funny line he says about I'd rather be DJ than decoy any day. Like
Hmm.
there's a since it's an audio drama, we're gonna do some stuff with audio, and so like they find the villain of the thing has like an audio recording of the when his father died. That's why he's chasing Lori, because like his father wrongly told him before he died that like Lori caused it when she really didn't. And so
Hmm.
he gets the audio from the guy's truck basically. And since Pete has some audio engineering, like, kind of experience, he's like, oh, this is kind of like, it's kind of like muddled and everything, but I can like put it through this like filter, whatever you gotta say basically. And then they find a
Hmm.
missing part of the recording. So I wanted to give Pete something to do because it's always Chloe. Like, it's always Chloe doing, figuring stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. So Clark is going to be late for the bus, and we see some product placement for Pepsi. I don't know if you also
I
noticed that.
noticed so much product placement. There was like Pepsi. There was also like I don't know what kind of orange juice it was, but like I think there's this
Yeah.
refrigerator. Oh no, that's what it was. It was honeycombs box on the thing on the thing there. That I guess it was a pilot, and they were just throwing all today. I mean, I feel like if you, in a later episode of Smallville, you would say soda or
Yeah.
chips, but it's like guys, you're
Or
just
beer.
right, yeah. Yeah, but generic, stuff. But no, they were just there's Pepsi products everywhere around here. I
Somebody's
I
got to
definitely
pay for
caught that.
this.
Yeah. So no, I caught that for sure watching it again this time.
Yeah. So Martha has night classes that will never come up again, but that's why like Clark and them are on their own tonight. Like, did you notice the whole night classes thing? Like a
Yeah,
pilot thing.
that was interesting too because like as they establish, she is from Metropolis and has this like, law background or business background of some kind. And then she came to Smallville. And so this would imply the opposite. Like, oh yeah, I'm a small town farmer's wife who's trying to take night classes at college, which is also great. It just
Yeah.
they totally dropped that, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, another again, things of the pilot, they were just kind of undefined things are floating out there, and
Yeah.
then they eventually never get back to them. But don't order pizza. We can all relate to that, right? I've been there, so there's food in the fridge. Okay, we
Yeah.
have McDonald's at home, right?
What is that? Obviously we wouldn't know, but like if they did actually get pizza, do you think like what pizza would they get? Probably like what brand, I
Oh,
guess.
oh man. Uh well, I don't know what at Smallville. What do they have? Probably some mom and pop shop in Smallville. It probably
That's
is.
true.
There's not a Papa John's in Smallville. I don't think so.
Yeah, Domino's would be like, oh, well, Domino's didn't deliver. They probably have some line like that, and it'd be like, some call out to some actual pizza chain. But
Well,
yeah.
I mean, they got Pepsi, so
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. Smallville, we will find out. Obviously, if you watch the show, it's not very much a small town, but we'll
Mhm.
definitely get into that. Or the actually watch your show. You guys kind of get into
Yeah.
that with Always On to Smallville. But yeah.
Yeah, apparently 45,000 people is a small town according to this show. So,
Yeah, well, Clark wants to join the football team, but Jonathan worries about an accident. He's fed up. He wants to fit in, and then he misses the bus. Pete and Chloe had a bet going he wouldn't make it. Pete bet he like basically wouldn't make it. And then Clark supersedes past a new sign, and like you mentioned earlier, it's the Smallville town sign. It says 45,001. He jumps on the bus. I like this little moment. It kind of gave me Superman the movie vibes a little bit, where like he skips past that train as it goes by and everything across the rails. Like he jumps on the bus before he keeps running, like at super speed and everything. I
mhm.
thought that was like a cool little moment. And Chloe actually notices it. And then cut to Smallville High, set up Pete's thing for Chloe, asking her to the dance as a friend, and he mentions her thing for Clark, which she denies. And then this is like one of those we are talking about cutscenes earlier. I kind of wish they left the scene in where Pete and her are like at the dance later, and like
Mhm.
he tries to like apparently he improved it. He tries
Yeah.
Pete's character tries to put his arm like lower down on Chloe's
Yeah, get
back,
a
and
little
she's like,
fresh.
Pete,
Yeah.
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 He's like, as friends is what he says back. That was a great moment. I kind of wish they left that in.
Yeah, look it I mean they hinted at Pete liking Chloe for
Hmm.
here obviously and then more so in this deleted scenes.
Yeah.
Again a little bit in season 1 and then a little bit in season 3. But they never really make it a real like love triangle or love square or whatever it would have been with Pete as well. But yeah, so did Clark jump on top of the bus and that was that
That's how I
sound?
took it. Yeah,
And
like I
he
took it as like he leaped on and then kept running,
Yeah, he
basically.
used it as like a step to kind of leap
Yeah.
further. Okay, because I'm like he's not riding on top of the bus, so that was
Yeah.
sort of strange. But yeah, and also rewatching the pilot, like I see all these iconic shots that are in the opening credits for years, like Clark running through
Hmm.
the field and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like these are iconic shots, and all the character images of like when the actors when their names come up. I'm like, oh, that's the shot from the opening credits. That's the shot from the opening credits, and yeah, I think it quickly establishes a little bit of the character dynamics here between the three of them.
Definitely. Clark shows up and we set up Chloe's thing for the unexplained in Smallville. Pete and Clark were supposed to try out for the football team together, but Clark can't. Chloe is super skeptical of them joining. They explain they're trying to do it to avoid being this year's scarecrow. They explain the tradition, which explains that teen tied up to the cross we saw earlier. Clark sees the girl of his dreams, Lana, and Pete bets he'll wipe out in 10 seconds before getting close to Lana. We see her kryptonite necklace explaining the wipeout. So, like, obviously they drop this later, but they're kind of mean to him in this episode, like always betting that that he'll like either wipe out or get late to the bus or something.
They
Like,
are. They're little. Yeah, they got their own little side commentary going about Clark and his life. I mean, look,
yeah,
when you're friends with people, you give each other a hard time. That's a lot of
yeah,
fun, but yeah, it does seem a little more mean spirited than I would have expected from them. Literally exchanging cash
yeah.
over him being late or falling over. I'm like, that's a little much.
Well, extreme, yeah. So Clark drops his Nishi book, setting up Lana to ask, "What are you, man or Superman?" And he says he hasn't figured that out yet. obviously that was like a, just a trailer line basically. But
It's a good line though.
yeah,
I
I
mean
like it.
that's like a lot sometimes like Smallville will overdo it, but I feel like they have this perfect balance in this pilot of like, look, we're gonna reference some stuff. You
Hmm.
guys are gonna pick up what we're putting down. It's a little fun line, and like you said, perfect line to lift out
Yeah.
and use in advertisement. So I enjoyed that. I haven't figured it out yet. He hasn't. He had takes him 10 years to figure it out.
Yeah. So we meet Whitney Lana's senior boyfriend, who doesn't seem like that bad of a guy, is what my note says. It's definitely one of those things they would not probably. Well, I don't know. They might do it today. I know that they still have those teacher student storylines and a lot of like dramas and stuff like that. So who knows? They may still do something like this, but I kind of hope not.
Well, you mean since he's a senior and she's a freshman?
Freshman, yeah, it's a little
Yeah,
age
like
gappy.
how long? Well, the main problem is how long have they been dating? Seems
Yeah,
like they've been
cause
dating for a while.
yeah, that's the other thing too. Because it's
At some
already kind of
point, he
weird.
says like we've been together a long time. I don't know. Is it this episode or another one? I don't know. But it's like,
How
well,
long is that?
I mean, she's 14 and you're 17. Like
Yeah,
you started dating a middle schooler a couple years ago, bro. Like what? You've either been together. The only way that it makes sense is if he was like in eighth grade and she was like in. Well, no, that doesn't even make sense. They're too. The gap is too far for them
yeah.
to have ever gone to school together. Because I don't know. Maybe it's different in Smallville, Kansas, but where I grew
Yeah.
up, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade is middle school. Ninth, 10th,
Yeah,
11th, 12th grade is high school. So they didn't think this through, man. They didn't think this.
not at
They
all.
should have all. Obviously, they're setting up a television show, and they want to
Hmm.
have 4 years of high school. But if you were doing it like if Smallville was a movie or something, right?
Yeah,
They would all be seniors. They would all be. Everyone would be 18, right? Everyone would be or
yeah,
something, right? So yeah, but it is weird. You don't think about it that much, but it is strange that this freshman girl is dating the senior captain of the football team. So
right. Yeah. So cut to the tied up team from earlier, destroy. Now he's obviously free. He's destroying a football display. He grabs an older picture of some football players and says payback time. Cut to Luthor Corp plant as a now grown gets out of his car, complete with personalized license plate that says Lex and says, "Thanks, Dad." Like, I like
I
that.
love that. I even say that exact phrase sometimes. Just it's, the way he says it is so memorable.
Yeah, definitely. I
No,
know that me.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, the deleted scenes here, right? We get to see
Yeah,
Gabe
original.
Sullivan.
Yeah.
Yeah, who that guy he gets recast with somebody else when we see Chloe's actual dad. But the
Hmm.
continuity of the character working Luthor Corp still exists. And
Yeah.
also that guy he goes on to be one of the corrupt mayor on Superman and Lois, that same actor. So anyway,
Yeah, that's crazy.
interesting stuff.
They definitely have a lot of Smallville cast come into Superman and Lois. And then obviously I guess we can talk about this now. This guy reappears later as Jonathan's girlfriend's dad, who he looks completely obviously it's been years,
Oh
but he
yes,
plays a shady dude. Yeah.
talking about the Jeremy Creek, the freak of the week. He's
Yeah.
yeah, he's the guy that pulls the gun on Clark and has him reveal his identity in the fourth season. And yeah, so
Right.
what a yeah. Oh, look, going back to the Smallville, when they made Superman and Lois, they they went back to the Smallville pilot, um, and found some characters there. So
Yeah, there's definitely some because I've been rewatching Superman and Lois a little bit as well, and they do have some call outs, like some name Easter eggs. Like I think John Henry Irons at one point, like he's posing as someone, and he's just like, "Oh, you expect Sullivan to do this? That guy sucks," and everything. Like
mm.
he has like some fun lines like that. So yeah, they're definitely Smallville fans, the Superman and Lois guys. But yeah, cool.
What
So
and
that,
there's deleted scenes of Principal Quan too to take it past
yeah,
back
he
when
throws some. He throws them into the what? Into the thing, the display.
yeah, like he's like, yeah, that's extreme. And it's interesting that they had cast Principal Quan as an actor and a character
Hmm.
for the pilot. They just deleted it. I just assumed they just cast him during when the series started. It was funny to see him there.
Yeah.
But man, this whole section of the pilot is just full of things
Right.
that go everywhere. It's interesting. So anyway,
Yeah. So at the stadium, Clark watches as Lana cheers and the high school does football practice. He daydreams about playing and winning, and we hear the music, like I said earlier, from the DVD menu. This is one of the cutscenes from most other versions. Just as he's about to kiss Lana in the fantasy, he's snapped out of it by Pete in an ill-fitting football outfit and pads, asking how he looks, and Clark laughs and jokes like a tackle dummy. Pete kind of looks sad. I kind of felt bad for Pete in this scene. He does wish him good luck, but like the way Pete looks, he looks so bummed out by that.
Well, that's the theme of this pilot. All these friends are just mean to each other. So,
Yeah, they're kind of dicks. Yeah, a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
But so Clark broods on low bridge as something falls off the back of one of the trucks that goes by. It busts Lex's tires as he spins. Trying to avoid it, he hits Clark and his car falls into the water. And then like obviously he's like on his phone while he's driving, and I was like, don't use your cell phone and drive,
That's right.
kids.
That's right. That was not the law back then.
Yeah.
Right. That was crazy because when we were kids, like, we
Mhm.
shouldn't have been doing it, but there was no law against it. So we were like, I'm texting, I'm talking, whatever.
Yeah.
Over the years, those have become laws, right? And for good reason. This shows you why. Because distracted driving, if Lex had not been a distracted driver, he would not have run over that fence that had fallen on the ground and hit Clark, and then the show never would have happened.
Yeah, that definitely. And then Clark saves and performs CPR on Lex, saving him. Lex could have sworn he hit him, he says. If he did, he'd be dead. This clearly unnerved Clark a little. Lex asks if he's okay, and he says he is now. Wiki said this was cut in future versions, or at least that line where he's like, "Hey kid, are you okay?" Like apparently that little bit was cut.
Yeah, that is as far as I could tell, that is the ones other than like some transitions and stuff, like fading between scenes and episodes and removing commercial breaks. Like that little moment only exists on the Smallville pilot DVD. It was nowhere else. I saw it out of context once. And I was like, "What is this? An outtake? What?" It's like, is this Tom Welling being silly, like like fading? But yeah, it's just this little moment. I like it. I like his Lex is like, "Kid, you're right."
Yeah.
And Clark. That's the thing we don't, and that's what Clark's journey is this episode. Like, we know he's Superman and he's invulnerable, but obviously he's never gotten hit by a car before. Why would you? Why would you expect you, right? So this is a crazy experience for him, and it's kind of all overwhelming. I like that. That's a nice little. It's just a nice little moment, and I'm glad it's in this pilot DVD.
Yeah. So cut to a little later, Jonathan asks who the maniac driving the car was, and Lex introduces himself. He says he has quite an extraordinary boy if there's anything he can do. And then Jonathan cuts him off, says, drive slower. And then obviously this will become a thing later, but Clark and Lex apparently joke about this, like to themselves when they become friends later.
Yeah, we never see them joke about it, but it's in the season 4 in the episode where Transference, where Lionel switches bodies with Clark, and then Lex wants to confirm Clark's identity at the end. And he pulls a gun on Clark. He's like, "Why don't you on the bridge? What did your dad say we always joke about?" Like he's he's very accusatory. So it's amusing, but I like that they have in jokes as friends.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
like that's what friends do. They joke about something
Yeah.
like that. I like that. I like how that became a thing for them.
Yeah. And then both him and Clark are in red blankets, obviously, like anytime, and I think you pointed this out in your show, but they have like the colors and stuff that they use, like either the red or like some other places I've noticed, like they'll have red, blue, and yellow for certain sets and stuff, like on the walls. Like anytime they can invoke those kind of colors and stuff, they'll kind of do it. And I wish they had done like you had a thing that you said before they actually went the way they did, where maybe Clark picked up the Superman emblem from like the 8 that he got, on his body, and then like obviously the Smallville Crows thing, maybe keep that kind of together a little bit. Like maybe that was where he came up with it.
That would have been a unique way to do it. Just because there's so much almost Superman iconography on Smallville, like we ever see the Crow's mascot, he's got a big S on his chest and that sort of thing. And, but I think we've kind of defaulted now where like Superman wears the symbol that his family wore on Krypton, like bottom line, like that's what we do now. Yeah. So fair enough. But I thought they might combine something back then, but no, it just so happens that Superman went to a high school where there was a crow with an S on his chest all the time.
It did take Jimmy, like, obviously this is later, but later on he kind of put pieces together. I'm surprised, like, obviously they never got to this, but, like,
Look at the logo.
Yeah, you could theoretically do a story where it's just like, oh, this, like, weird stuff happened around here, and then this logo just happens to kind of resemble what Superman wears, like, connect those dots.
Yeah. Speaking of the Smallville High School logo real quick, like, that is one thing that changed between the pilot and Metamorphosis and the rest of the show. Because in that scene with Whitney, every time you see Whitney, he's got his letter jacket on, and it has this little shield kind of behind the S. Yeah. And I'm glad they made this change. Like, okay, guys, this is a little too on the nose.
Yeah, even for Smallville.
Even for Smallville, like, fine. Look, if the Crow mascot wants to run around with an S on his chest, that's one thing. But we can't have it's not like the Superman Pentagon but
Yeah.
it's like it's this curved kind of. It's like it's close. If you just shaved off all the edges of the Superman Pentagon, that
Yeah.
would be behind the S, and that is too on the nose. And I'm
Right.
glad they changed it.
Yeah, I agree. But back at the Kent farm, Clark uses his telescope to watch Lana at her home on her porch, then is upset to see Whitney. This moment was always like, one, it's kind of creepy, but two, it was funny to me because he looks like it's like, dude, she's dating Whitney. Like he looks up like, oh, he's here. Like
Yeah,
what'd you
that
expect?
two things on that. That reaction is like if you like a girl and she's single and another guy likes a girl and then you see that guy with that girl, that's that
Hmm.
reaction. Not, oh
Yeah.
no, this girl I like her boyfriend who I know exists is there. Why are you so angry and shocked? The other thing is like we love Clark. Clark's our
Hmm.
guy, right? And we can all relate to pining and unrequited love and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. This is creepy. This is crossing line. This is borderline stalking. And I thought, and we'll get to it when we get to the next episode, but it's like
Hmm.
to me, it's that meme of like flirting versus sexual harassment. That is where we are. Clark is flirting, and then
Yeah.
Greg and Menno versus the sexual harassment in that cartoon. If people know what I'm talking about, the different reactions people
Yeah.
have. But I don't think they would do this if they made Smallville again today. You talk about problematic things perhaps that they wouldn't carry
Hmm.
on. I don't think Clark's spying on Lana. Like everybody plays it up as very cute, but it's like I don't know. I don't think you should be doing that, Clark. I feel secondhand embarrassment and awkward.
Yeah.
And I feel uncomfortable with you doing this, Clark.
Yeah, exactly. So Lana mentions Nell is overdoing something for the Luthers. I think this never come. It does come up like a little bit later where like Lex mentions something, but this whole thing of like her working with the Luthers, I don't think they ever
Yeah.
necessarily do anything with this.
No, it's more like just give the adults connect the adults somehow. That's all it
Yeah,
is. So that's all it is. Just plot function. Yeah.
yeah. Lana mentions Clark saving Lex to Whitney. Whitney sets up he doesn't want to be a remember of him. Like Smallville's enough of those. Lana gives him her necklace for good luck for the game on Saturday where the talent scouts will be. Her
Mhm.
necklace is like obviously we talked about from the meteor that killed her parents. So much bad luck, only good luck left. Clark sees them kiss and stops watching. Beckett.
Yeah, as you
That's
should.
crazy.
As you shouldn't be watching. Why are you watching this whole thing, Clark? This is voyeurism, man. Stop it.
Yeah, no, it's creepy. But
Right?
yeah, and then like the whole thing with because like obviously like this that we always on our show and I know on Always on the Arrow they kind of do this too, but we have a thing in our show where we say like justice for Eddie basically where we because like this kind of starts it though with Whitney being the kind of likable like obstacle boyfriend basically and then like they develop this later with like Tommy and Arrow and
Right.
then Eddie and the Flash where even to the point where I got the guy Rick Cosnett who plays him to say it for our intros for
Justice
the
for
Flash
Eddie.
series. Yeah, he looks so confused when he says it
Well, I mean, Whitney probably the worst of all those
because I
guys,
just said we're
considering.
big fans. Said justice for Eddie. Yeah, yeah,
Well,
definitely.
Whitney probably the worst of all those guys. Yeah, because just considering what he ends up doing to Clark here in a minute. But yeah,
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, like I think it was funny, like in the actual thing, like you can tell Rick Cosnett was kind of confused by the Justice for Eddie thing, where he's just kind of
yeah,
like, okay, like it was one of those where it's like, yeah, man, but these characters, like obviously making them like two-dimensional and everything, and he gets more dimensions after this, but in this one, like you kind of alluded to, he's much more of the archetype, like kind of he turns into a bully when him and Clark first meet, though. Like, I would argue he's not a dick really to him. Like, he's kind of just like, oh, hey, Clark. Like, he's not like, an asshole or anything to him.
hmm yeah.
Yeah.
He gets triggered by seeing Clark and Lana together, which, look, I understand, right?
Yeah, it's
Because if I
Tom
saw
Welling.
if I saw my girlfriend kiss a guy on the cheek after he walked her home,
Yeah.
I would have a problem. I wouldn't go tie him up in a field, but I would be a little
Well, I'm
annoyed.
glad, Zach.
Yeah. That's the bar. That's the bar.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you get like he's Clark is just some dude who exists up to that point, and then
Mhm.
he becomes the scarecrow because of what we're gonna talk about in a minute with Clark and Lana. So
Right. So back at the auto repair place, the guy electrocutes the bully who hung him there 12 years ago. Clark is excited to see a truck gifted to him by the maniac in the Porsche. Like 'cause there's that letter from Lex.
mhm.
His father has the keys though, and Jonathan says he can't keep it. There's always strings attached in the flashy gifts, followed by like basically Lionel going back on his word. Jonathan says it's normal to be upset, and he throws his arm into the wood chipper, explaining what happened with the wreck, and he'd do anything to be normal. And I love Martha's like look that she gives Jonathan as Clark storms up the loft, like, come on, man, like what like what are
Yeah.
you doing, basically? I don't know if you ever had this, but when I used to watch this episode, I always just assumed when she was like, your father has it, I thought he threw that like shit in like the wood chipper or something. I thought like because he's already doing stuff, I thought
Oh,
maybe yeah, he threw it in there because I'm just like he's like you're not driving it basically.
yeah. Well, I wonder, like, did he just destroy that very expensive piece of farm machinery with his
Yeah,
eye?
that's what I thought too. I was like,
That's what
hey,
Jonathan's real concern was. Get your hand out of there. You're gonna break that.
yeah.
But this is him testing the limits of his powers, right? Because like,
Mhm.
why would you have ever done that before? Like,
Yeah,
even if I'm strong and fast, I'm not going to shove my hand into a wood chipper. But if I
right.
got hit by a car and we're fine, then I might. So this is
Well,
them
he's
all learning
unnerved
about
by
his.
it.
Yeah, he's scared about it, right?
Yeah,
And this is when but it's a good message about like, oh, you saved his life, you think you deserve a prize. Like,
yeah,
these are the morals that Jonathan instills in Clark that makes him the man he is when he grows up. And I think that this is a great conflict, of that. And this is when he decides to tell him that he's an alien.
yeah, exactly. So, Jonathan shows him the ship key from his real parents. It's time for the truth. He says his
It's
real
another that's
parents.
another thing that changes Alex between the pilot and the show later on.
Yeah.
But that's fine. We'll allow it. We'll allow it. Yeah.
Yeah. He says his real parents aren't exactly from around here. He looks up to space. He says, "Were you trying to tell me I'm from another planet?" And then the
That
look Jonathan gives him is great
like,
here, man.
oh,
And he's
well,
like, "Oh, I don't know."
and the whole them both looking at the telescope, like, that's a great shot. That's a great
Yeah.
moment. Yeah.
Definitely. And then he's like, was it stored in the attic? He's like, actually, it's in the storm cellar. Again, like great dialogue. And I feel like Smallville, obviously, like they have a kind of way that they talk in this show that actually was a little bit of a challenge when I was developing the audio drama versus like how I just mostly write stuff like how normal, like how me and you are talking right now versus like that one where it's like pop culture reference, some weird, way to basically establish exposition. So, like,
hmm
yeah, they have a way to talk here, but the dialogue is good in this episode.
I was struck by, I mean, I went through every single episode of this show with a fine tooth comb for
Mhm.
my podcast, and a lot of the dialogue would frustrate me over the years. But I'm like, you know what? They came out of the gate as a strong, well written show. Like the
Yeah,
snappy dialogue, clever stuff. The characters feel authentic. Like, yeah, I too picked up on how well all these exchanges were, and that's why we came to love the characters so quickly back in the day,
yeah.
right?
Exactly. So cut to him showing him the ship and explaining. He's upset, asking him why he didn't tell him before, and he says they were trying to protect him. He goes, "Protect me from what? You should have told me." And then he speeds off. Obviously, Tom Welling becomes a better actor later, but like, so some of
Yeah.
this like dialogue delivery is kind of funny.
He would admit it as well. He became a much better actor. It's season one, Tom. He's a little rough around the edges. I mean, he's good in some areas, but
Yeah,
you should have told me, right?
yeah,
He's a model. He was a model. He had
yeah,
done some guest star stuff, and he was really fresh, and he's the first one to admit it. And I mean, but I think by the end, he becomes a really good actor on the show. He understands his character and the assignment. But yeah, no, I think we can all see that and kind
yeah.
of laugh at it back at, or at least smile at it in these early episodes.
Definitely. So cut to the cemetery as Lana visits her parents that night on horseback, and like he's not okay. He's standing in front of like a angel statue, basically, again, like guardian
classic
angel.
classic image they used to promote the show
Yeah.
very, very often in the early years of him,
Is
because
it
it's like,
on the
you get
back of
it?
the box?
He's
No,
got
it's not.
wings. Oh, it's not. Let's see. Oh, let's look at it here. What do we got here? Yeah,
Yeah.
we have, I think this is, I've okay, so we got Clark with a blanket around him after the car accident.
Mhm.
We have the actual car accident, which
Yeah.
which is just an amazing physical
Looks great.
stunt. Like, it's like one of the best stunts I've
Mhm.
ever seen. I think the meteor shower blowing them up, and then I've never seen this picture of Clark, Lana, and Lex. I think they might have like composited it together
It
from
looks
other
like it.
images, right? Because I'm like, I've seen most promotional shots of the show. I've never seen that before, but
Mhm.
you know what? To your point, I'm surprised that image of him in front of the angel statue is not on this box. So
Right. Yeah. So she came out to talk to her parents. She introduces him to her parents, and a cute scene where Lana says her mom wants to know if he's upset about a girl, and he says no. And in a moment that wouldn't be done now,
no,
she
would not be
says
done
her
today.
yeah, says her dad wants to know if he's upset about a guy, and Clark says no, no, and he goes like she has like a twisted sense of humor. It's kind of like in that first Spider-Man movie where they have a similar moment, like, "Oh, what that your husband make you that outfit?" Like that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It's it wouldn't. It's the twisted sense of humor is really what pushes
Yeah.
it over the edge, right? I mean, before that, you're like, okay. Early
Yeah.
2000s, right? Again, little
Mm.
things they wouldn't do today, but aren't deal breakers. They're just interesting to see that what we said on network TV back 25 years ago, right?
Well,
But this is
there's
yeah.
definitely a line that Lois says in a future season
Oh
that
my
would
God,
not be in anything later.
2006 or 7. That's way past like
Yeah.
this. I'm like, oh well, yeah, okay,
Mm.
2001, right, sure. Watch any episode of Friends, you're gonna get a joke like that. I feel around that time, right? But in 2006 or 7, what do we do anyway? Go look that
Yeah.
up, Smallville fans. If you know what we're
Yeah.
talking about, you know what we're
We
talking
will
about. But
not say the
we're
word,
not
but
gonna.
yeah.
We will not say the word. I agree. But
Yeah.
I really like this scene. This is really cute
Yeah.
scene between. It's not a meet cute because they met before, but
Mm.
it's this bonding scene. Like she starts talking about how she had a dream that her parents come get her, and then she wakes up, and you're like, oh, you really start to you
Yeah.
understand Lana's character and how affected she is by her parents' death. And then Clark, it's really cute because he's like, oh, what's that, Miss Lang?
Yeah.
Oh, you're always looking after her. Oh, what's that, Mr. Lang? And I'm like, that's really cute. And she's like,
Yeah.
did speaking of the Spider-Man movies, it
Mm.
kind of reminds me of Peter telling MJ what Spider-Man said, because Lana's like,
Yeah.
did they really say that? He's like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because in the Spider-Man movie, Peter goes on and on about what Spider-Man told Peter what
I miss scenes like
about
this, man.
MJ. Yeah. And she's
Yeah.
like, did Spider-Man say all that? He's like, yeah, something like that. And
Yeah.
anyway, it was really cute. And like
Yeah.
in over the years, I really soured on the Clark and Lana relationship. But in
Mm.
this, specifically the first season, I was reminded of why we were on board with this. They are adorable together. It's charming. It's youthful innocence, and yeah, like I loved this. I love this interaction between the two of them.
Yeah, it's great stuff. But and then like obviously he does like say that they say the line about the homecoming queen, like her being that, which they obviously set up for later when she is the homecoming queen, just
Yeah.
not with Clark. But anyway, he walks back to her place minus the horse. I know she put it in the stalls,
Oh,
which the creators addressed on the commentary actually.
yeah, like where are the horses? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's another
it's
image in
so
the
funny,
opening
man.
credits. Her riding in on the horse to the graveyard.
Yeah.
So yeah.
They because in the commentary you can tell they're so sick of people saying that. Like you hear like the creators being like, guys, like he put it up. Like they didn't just walk back from the cemetery.
Yeah.
But great stuff. He asks if she's going to the dance and she says with Whitney and he
Oh, of
figures he'll
course.
find
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yeah, like what? Like he acts like he's like, oh yeah, right, your boyfriend.
You
And
gotta look. You gotta try, Clark. I understand. You
shoot
gotta
your
try,
shot.
but yeah.
But yeah, it says that, basically if you change your mind, like with Clark wanting to sit it out, she'll save him a dance, and she kisses him on the cheek, and Whitney watches like fuming, like, and like the kind of the Walking Dead video game, it's like Whitney will remember that kind of kind of thing with it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
she does say that, if he decides to go to the dance, she'll save a
hmm
dance for him, which sets up the end of the episode. It makes you think Clark is not imagining her, but he is.
yeah, that's a great moment. But Clark walks around Luther Mansion and nearly gets impaled by Lex, who hired like basically throws his fencing sword at the
Mhm.
wall after losing to Heike. Lex is surprised to see him. He did, like basically like, oh, I didn't see you there. Clark tells Lex he can't keep the car. He assumes his father doesn't like him because he's bald. Like that was like one of the moments I'm like, dude, I'm pretty sure back then there were other people that didn't have
Well,
hair.
I think his point was more like his dad. His dad doesn't like him because of his family, but he's used to people thinking he's weird because of his hair. Like I don't think it was
Yeah,
a direct correlation because that's Jonathan hates Lex because of his dad and what his
yeah.
dad's business has done. So, but I think this is great. The energy between Clark and Lex here is like, hey, this is
hmm
a cool place. Yeah, if you're dead and in the market for something to haunt, like it's just that comedic
Yeah.
energy that Rosenbaum, because he's a comedic actor, right? I mean, he's naturally a goofball. And for whatever reason, he channels that into the greatest Lex Luthor of all time. So, it,
Yeah.
like but Lex comes on really strong here too. He's like, "We have a destiny together, Clark, and I don't want anything to get in the way of our friendship." I'm like, "Okay, bro,
Yeah.
you're gonna need to step back. This is, you know,
It's weird. If he
uh,
looked more age appropriate, if Clark did, this would be even creepier than it kind of already is.
yeah, because they do math here, like do the math, right? Lex says he lost his hair when he was 9,
Yeah.
1989. So he was born in 1980, which means he's 21. hanging out with a 15-year-old, 14
That's
or
really
15
weird.
year old.
Yeah.
The only thing is, look, Lex is a lonely guy. He has no
Hmm.
friends. This guy saved his life. Lex Luthor is an obsessive character. I
Hmm.
get why he would attach himself to this guy, but yeah, like again, if they looked age appropriate, like you said, it would
Yeah,
feel really weird.
exactly.
But do you
Um,
believe a man can fly? By the way, they get that line in there
yeah,
from the Superman the movie slogan. I think that was a very clever way to weave that in there. And of course,
yeah,
Clark's like, "No, Lex, people can't fly,
yeah,
idiot."
yeah. That's more Tom Welling
Yeah, that's
talking
Tom.
than him.
Tom
Yeah.
channeling that.
Yeah. But like obviously you mentioned it before. He says like, do you believe man can fly? He
Yeah.
mentions he flew after the accident. When his heart stopped, he flew over Smallville, and for the first time he saw a new beginning instead of a dead end. So this was definitely like kind of a nexus point too for these characters. Like definitely if
Mm.
this didn't happen, like maybe Lex would go on being kind of like because I'd argue here, like he's not like an asshole. He definitely has like some like darker shades to him, but like especially season one Lex is like mostly a good man, like at this point. But it's interesting to see if he didn't interact with Clark, like what that would have been like.
Yeah, he probably would have been like a Oliver Queen if he never went to the island, right? Just kind of a
Yeah.
rich asshole, you know, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But so yeah, Clark he saves his life, but then sets up his greatest nemesis. So that's the genius of Smallville. Like that's amazing that he gives him this, not only like brings him back, but gives him this kind of new approach to life, and
Hmm.
because through this near death experience, and here we are. So yeah, despite the age difference, which again we won't dwell too much on, it's a great setup for their relationship moving forward in the show.
Definitely. So Lex thinks they have a future together and doesn't want anything to stand in
Yeah,
the way
yeah,
of their friendship. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah. And then I in the commentary actually they talked about Rosenbaum and when they casted him, they wanted someone they said like he's kind of a Michael Keaton type is how they described Rosenbaum
Hmm.
in that, which was interesting. I don't think I've ever heard like him described like that, but that kind of makes sense.
Well, I guess a comedic guy, a guy with comedic energy who can
Yeah.
like channel darkness. I mean, because if you look at the Batman movies, like he's kind of
Hmm.
a goofball when he's Bruce Wayne, but when he's
Yeah,
Batman, he's like, as cold as can be and a badass. So, that's probably the energy they were looking at with him.
definitely. So back in town, a guy is being put into an ambulance, and Chloe and Pete are there, but that's the third guy this week, all former jocks. Pete clocks the weirdo, aka Scarecrow Kid. It's Jeremy Creek. They have a yearbook picture of him where he looked just as young from like 12 years ago. And then they go into this. Jeremy escaped from the state infirmary where he'd been in a coma for 12 years. He had suffered from a massive electrolyte imbalance, hence why no aging. There was a recent power surge that must have charged him up like a Duracell. So like he's not like he is a meteor freak, but it's kind of like it's interesting the way they try to explain like the de-aging. They wouldn't even go into that much like effort. I feel like in future episodes where it'd be like, oh, the meteors just did all that. There wouldn't be any like, extra explanation as to why he looks so young and everything.
Well, we're talking about ages and stuff. We've been talking about ages in this podcast so far, and it's like, yeah, you'd be like 26 by now. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're all 26. That's it's funny. You're all 26. You all look like this. I wasn't questioning it before, but now I am. Also, is
Yeah.
he killing these people, Alex?
I'd assume so. Yeah, because the people
I
are
mean,
covered when they go into the ambulance.
but
So
he's killed three. Let's remember that he's killed three people.
yeah.
Let's just remember that for the end. But
Oh yeah, it's a good point. But Chloe shows him her wall of weird, every weird event that happened since the meteor shower. Clark sees baby Lana on Time magazine and feels immense guilt, realizing the meteor shower killed her parents. Then Whitney and his friends grab Clark and are able to take him down due to the necklace. He puts it on him and throws him in the back of the truck. He's this year's Scarecrow. That's as close as you'll get. Clark will get to his freshman girlfriend, is what I put in the notes
yeah.
for like Whitney. Yeah.
I mean, Whitney, he's not thinking clearly, right? It's like, why would you like? Because he's mad at Clark is the only reason. Oh, you like this necklace? As close as you're gonna
Mhm.
get to it. I'm like, all right, all right. That
Yeah.
that line, I'm like, that kind of covers up like why he would like, I don't know, like why would he put this necklace on Clark?
Right.
He's got to for the kryptonite and all for all the story purposes. It makes sense. But yeah, it's funny because man, Clark could have kicked all our asses, right? Because Clark's in a bad mood because he blames himself now for the meteor shower, and so like he would probably kick these guys' asses if it
Yeah.
wasn't for the necklace. And again, like we mentioned earlier, like it's the proto wall of weird. It's not even in like the
Mhm.
torch set. It's just
It's like a
just
separate room
in a
almost.
closet somewhere
Yeah.
or something. But yeah, so yeah, so he's this year's Scarecrow. But then we see Jeremy that see all this happen. So I
Yeah.
guess that's how he knows to go talk to Clark afterward.
Definitely. So cut to Clark at night with the necklace on the cross. Jeremy shows up and tells him he punished the jocks to make it stop, but it didn't work. Clark pleads to get down, but he says he's safer there. He's going to the homecoming dance he missed. Like, basically, I missed mine, is what he says. And then Lex pulls up and sees Jeremy flashing back to the scene earlier, and then he's gone. He hears someone faintly asking for help. This must be really triggering for for Lex, by the way, this whole thing.
Yeah, I had forgotten we had that that whole that little flashes of the meteor shower for Lex remembering, because you got to see him connect the dots and stuff. But yeah, I mean that's like the most important day of his life so far was when he got in the meteor shower. So flashback,
Right.
and then he sees Clark of all people in the same
Exactly.
spot that Jeremy was years ago.
He cuts Clark down and the necklace falls off. Clark is better. Lex says he needs to see a doctor. He says he'll be fine and grabs his clothes and he disappears into the field.
At least let me drive. Oh, he's gone. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But he finds the kryptonite necklace. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I gotta say something about this though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have the Smallville Funko Pops?
I oh yeah, I do. I have the Clark with the shirt rip and then the President Lex one. I know you have
Okay.
Doomsday Max. I know
I
that's
have
one of them.
I have them all. Here, you can no. It's great for the listeners here, but
Oh
you
yeah,
can see
yeah.
them anyway. There
There'll
you
be
go.
some
See?
stuff just for us in this.
Yeah, so there you go, right there, right. So those are
Nice.
the Smallville Funko Pops. I got them all. Most of them gifts. A couple I got myself, but that one right there, the pilot one, right?
Yeah.
He's wearing boots in that.
Yeah.
And that's based off the set photos, because obviously when they have Tom Welling up there, they're not going to have him be barefoot on this.
Yeah.
So obviously in the episode, he's not wearing those shoes because his clothes and shoes are on the ground.
Hmm.
All he's in is his boxers. But whoever made the Funko Pop, we just saw a set photo. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
well, I guess he's wearing these boots. It's a very funny error. Like I'm like, I think it's kind of charming that it has those, but that is inaccurate. That is like behind the scenes Tom Welling Funko Pop. That is not Clark Kent in the field. So I just wanted to shout that out. So I didn't get a chance to when I covered this episode years ago because the Smallville Funko Pops didn't exist yet. So,
but yeah, they that kind of reminds me like that'd be like if they made a Funko Pop of like obviously Batman's not wearing the full suit and like certain scenes of like Batman Forever and stuff. That'd be like if they made one where like he just had the top half of the suit on and then the rest was just normal clothes.
Yeah.
Or like shorts or something. It's like, guys, there was other ways to check in on this, but they're probably, they're running and gunning with this stuff. They have so many of them to make, but that is actually really cool. I have the Batman Forever, like not the one that came with the other, like the other Batman, but like the one from the McFarlane toy line that had like just him, and then I got the Chris O'Donnell one later. But that one, I was looking at his cowl and I was like, why does it look different than his suit and different than like the promotion, like not the promotion, but the movie stuff? It's because it's based off the poster. On the poster of like Batman Forever, the movie, they have him with a different cowl with that suit, and that's what they made that whole action figure off of.
Mm.
Yeah, with like a different cowl, like on like his, movie like sonar suit, basically.
Yeah, when they start making these toys, so for I don't know, like it's they give them so much material to reference.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but these are fun oddities, right? I think it's
fun for trivia.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So he disappears, like you said, in the field, and Lex like has that whole line, and then he picks up the necklace. At the homecoming dance, Jeremy preps his death trap for the kids. Clark tells him to stop. He won't let him hurt his friends. Jeremy is doing it for all the people like them. Clark throws him into a truck that Jeremy powers up and runs through a wall. The water main, mixed with the electricity he used to power the truck, ends up knocking Jeremy out. Clark rips the door off, and Jeremy has no memory of anything. And he asks who he is, and Clark says, "I'm Clark Kent, and you're in Smallville." I remember so many ABC Family ads with that. Is what like my note is here.
I've seen Tom Welling talk about this on Talkville and other conventions and stuff, and he's like, yeah, he approached that line like Bond, James Bond, because that's kind of like I'm Clark Kent and you're in Smallville. And I've seen those ABC Family ads. I'm like, it's perfect. Much like Man or Superman, haven't figured it out yet, right? These are lines to just take out and put in trailers They're very effective. And yeah, like sure, he has no memory of anything probably since the meteor shower, we're to
Mhm.
assume, because he's not his
Yeah.
personality he doesn't know who Clark is. Good thing
Mhm.
too, because Clark just kind of gave away his superpowers.
Yeah.
This guy murdered three people. Are we not
Yeah,
gonna
let's talk about that because he wants to go home after that. But I'm like, I don't think you're going home, dude. I think you're probably going to jail.
the show was not equipped to cover that at this point.
Yeah.
And that was, I think I they get better as the show progresses, like truly wrapping up these freaks of the
Mhm.
week. But I feel like in the first season, it's like there's a lot of people who are just out there with powers, and
Yeah.
are they going to jail? Are they gonna die? Like we don't know. Like and they just like we don't have time for that. No
Yeah.
wrap up scene. Like no, like wow, it's a shame. Hopefully with rehabilitation, Jeremy can blah
Yeah.
blah blah. There's no line like that. This is it. This is the
Yeah.
last we
No.
see of him. So.
I guess you just let him go. It's like, well, you don't remember anything. There's not, like there. I guess they would also have to prove he did it though, too. Like that'd be maybe the other
Well,
thing.
he doesn't have light. I assume he doesn't have lightning powers anymore,
Yeah.
right?
So
Because
that
the
would be
whole,
a way.
I mean, I don't know the science of that, but it's like the
Yeah.
feedback loop killed his lightning powers and his amnesia and whatever, right? It's sci-fi
Yeah.
comic book logic, but just that's why I wanted to ask you. Like, he's a murderer. Like,
Yeah.
so anyway,
Crazy. But so Clark watches the dance as Lana and Whitney, homecoming queen and king kiss. He missed his shot. Clark walks past the jock's truck and gets an idea and smiles. As the dance is letting out, Whitney is pissed to see his truck stacked on top of a bunch of other trucks. And then like obviously that was a cut scene is what we said earlier. But again, like Superman getting back or Clark at this point getting back at people in like, non just super destructive ways. Like I kind of like when Superman does stuff like this.
there is one other slight deleted scene earlier, like in the this is
Hmm.
the true deleted scene where like I think Chloe specifically refers to these guys as the Asketeers, like Whitney and these
Yeah.
guys, because they're parking their truck. So that I think that's actually kind of important because that's
Hmm.
why Clark destroys three of these trucks because
Yeah.
they're all stacked on each other, which means they're all
Yeah.
messed up. It wasn't just Whitney's. But because I guess those were the guys. I mean, I wasn't really paying attention to who was with him, his goons
Yeah.
with him
No.
from the football
Yeah.
team. But yeah, he messes up all three of these guys' trucks, and you know,
Yeah.
it's. I mean, Whitney's car is gonna get messed up again in a like tomorrow as well. So it's a rough weekend for
Insurance must
Whitney's
be
truck.
crazy. Insurance must be nuts in this town, man.
Yep, yep. And then Lana almost looks like she notices Clark. I think
Yeah.
these are all little like hints to make you think what he's gonna experience at the end is real. Her saying "I'll
Yeah.
save you a dance," her like looking off and maybe seeing where Clark was. Like
She
it,
notices
it
him smiling and walking off, is what my note is here, which was
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So that these are all. It's clever for them to kind of try and trick you to make you think Clark's imagination is real at the end. So
Yeah. And then back at the loft, Jonathan explains where the telescope came from. He asks if he's okay, and he says, "Can I answer that in about 5 years?" He goes, and obviously that was cut later. He goes to leave, but Clark tells him he's glad you and Mom found me. And he goes, "We didn't find you, you found us." And then such a heartfelt moment. And then Clark cuts on his radio and it plays Everything by Lifehouse. So like obviously later on in the show they have it play with Whitney. I kind of always was like, nah man, that's Clark and Lana's thing. Like don't play
mm.
this with this character. Like have him play a different song.
I guess it's kind of the season one love song. I mean, this is one of the
Yeah.
all time Smallville songs. Lifehouse, how Lifehouse has actually I think two or three other songs on Smallville over the years. So that
Yeah.
became really part of the soundtrack. And what a what a song, man!
Yeah.
And then Lana shows up, right? Quote unquote.
Saved him the dance that she had promised him. She asks if everything's okay, and he says it's perfect before a car horn beeps, revealing it was a daydream. Lana waves bye to her friends as Clark thanks her for the dance, and then she turns like she heard it, which I'm sure is just
Right.
like a moment, but I was like, obviously she didn't hear that. It's a moment where she also smiles to herself after that too.
Yeah.
Like it's like, what are we supposed to draw a connection here? Is
I
it just like, I don't know.
They don't know. It's fine because it's like there's no logic to it. It's just all
Yeah.
emotions to it, so that's fine.
Emotional sense versus
Yeah.
like logic sense. Yeah.
But this is
Yeah.
the pivot between the two episodes,
Yeah,
right?
actually, that's my next thing. Yeah, pan up as lighthouse belts from the loft to the night sky. As the night sky, like, it spins basically. And then we go down to Lana's house, seamlessly transitioning into the next episode. So this is honestly what I was, because I always heard you describe it like through your
Mhm.
coverage, where you were like saying like, oh, they kind of like feed into each other. But then actually seeing it, I was like, no, this is actually really cool to see that. And I know you have some experience with watching episodes that are edited together because you have those Flash movies that are like the
Yes.
episodes.
Yeah, the Flash, they made they so the Flash TV show, the 1990 show, they made three VHS tape TV movies out of them. The pilot was just the pilot, so they didn't have to change
Mhm.
anything. They made one with the Trickster,
Yeah.
Mark Hamill episodes. Although it just says like it cuts to a screen like 6 months later. I'm like, oh, well,
Oh,
that's not smooth or anything. And
right.
as I recall, they don't like edit out any commercial breaks either. They still go to commercial break. And then for the Deadly Nightshade, I think they do something similar. It's like
Yeah.
3 months later, which is there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's a very efficient way to merge them together. I just thought visually Smallville, that was such a cool way to transition from one episode to the other without missing a beat. And again, there's no opening credits. There's nothing.
Yeah.
All the credit I was because I've forgotten like all the credits come to the very end, So
Hmm.
there's no names or anything. So it's just it's a smooth experience, and it's Lana going in her room
Yeah.
from being dropped off at homecoming. So it's just we pick up immediately after we leave
Right.
off.
And then she puts the crown, like basically, down and discovers a gift box full of butterflies that this creepy kid is recording her like opening from a tree outside,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like he had
but
left
let's
it.
let's explore that, Alex. Like,
Yeah.
why is he creepier than Clark? Right? Again, it's the
It-
flirting versus sexual harassment meme I'm talking about because he's a kind of a
yeah.
weirdo. Yeah, he's recording it, which is worse, I guess. But like,
He's
they're
also
both
looking
vulgar.
into her house. Like I think Clark
What
only like there's degrees of it, but he only looks at her from like her porch,
you
basically. I
think he
don't think.
stops at the porch? Come on, like
Oh
there's
man, are we gonna pull this thread
the
with
windows
Clark?
right there. I'm just saying, like,
Hey, at least it's not like because I know Peter Parker, like and this guy is kind of like their version of Peter Parker, but like in that movie, doesn't he like look in the Raimi movies, he looks across and sees her like changing or
I
something one
think
time?
so. I think so.
Yeah.
Alan Miles, writers of Spider-Man 2, by the way, just there is connective tissue.
Yeah.
So yeah, I look. Clark Kent's my guy.
Mhm.
Smallville's my show. I'm not here to
You got to call him
to.
out when he
You're
messes
right.
up, though.
I'm not here to slander it. All right,
Yeah.
but it's problematic. I don't raise the problematic flag for every single thing, but I
Mm.
for this I will.
Yeah,
Because
it's creepy, man.
it's creepy, man. That's what I'm saying. They have a direct because it's so front of mind because they have a direct comparison. They have Clark with a telescope and this guy with
Right.
a video
Well,
camera.
this guy's slightly worse, right? Like
Yeah,
he's
no, he
recording
is
it.
worse. He is worse, but they're not as far apart as the show would probably lead us to believe. Is my point.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say about it until it comes up again real quick in another scene.
Right. Back at Greg's house, we see his mother who confronts him over the videos of Lana she's found. She also discourages his bug collecting, calling it
Another
like
disgusting
disgusting
habit.
habit. Yeah. And like recording people against his will, and then like she's like, I'm taking you to military school. It's like, no, I'm serious this time. And then
Who's
uh
gonna watch my bugs?
exactly. And then we see his bug collecting. He has a meteor infected, like they're like fireflies and a bunch of other kind of bugs
Yeah.
too. And he's
Big
talking.
Papa Roach poster, by the way, and a Big Papa Roach
Oh, I didn't
song.
know.
So look at
That's
that. Look at that.
hilarious.
That is
There you go.
on point.
And then he like he's gonna take them somewhere safe. But like as he is like about to wreck his car, like basically this
Yeah.
causes his car to wreck. They get all over him and then attack him, and then he runs into like a wood pole. And then
Yeah.
his mom looks from his room but misses him on the doorpost.
He's in the
Like he
ceiling. Yeah.
like looking like they're doing the spider, they're doing Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, but if he was creepy, like Greg is
Yeah.
kind of like this acne filled, like Coke bottle, not Coke bottle glasses, but like the kind of round
Yeah.
glasses. Kind of they kind of make him look greasy in this before he even
He
like
looks pretty
transforms.
gross. Yeah,
Yeah,
he looks pretty gross. He looks like a guy who would follow you around with a video camera look like.
yeah,
Also he drives a Volkswagen Beetle, by the way, because we're super on point. Smallville, not one for subtlety, right? So
yeah.
the bug guy drives a Volkswagen Beetle. But yeah, I mean, like how high are the ceilings in your room that your mom comes in and looks for you doesn't see right up there?
He's not even all the way up on the ceiling. He's in a corner. Like that's the other thing.
So, but again, I liked how there's parents in these early episodes.
Yeah,
Like these should be obstacles. Like if you were a teenager, you live with a parent. That should be a factor when you're becoming a meteor freak. And it's horrible what happens to this lady, but I'm glad that
yeah,
they address the fact that these kids have parents.
yeah. And then, like I said kind of earlier, he looks all oily, he's covered in bites, and he moves very bug-like. I thought that he did a good job with like obviously later on we'll see more of this, but like some of his like movements and everything, I think they did a good job with making him look bug-like and unnatural in some ways.
You can tell this is an early episode when they had a lot of budget and like they're like, let's really make this guy like a meteor freak, like he
Yeah.
moves different, like you said, like that. In the future, like meteor freaks are just like anyone with they just have like energy hands and stuff
Yeah.
later on in the show. But here, like he is truly mutated by
hmm
this.
Yeah. And then Ariel night shot as Clark flies over Smallville and then into Lana's room. She wakes up
Oh, in
telling him,
Delano's room. I wonder how he knows what that looks like, Alex.
"Oh man, he really is a creep, isn't he?" We found it out. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. But yeah. He basically like he's floating over in this kind of creepy scene. Like she wakes up and like looks at him, says it's all your fault, and then he wakes up, he's floating over the bed and he breaks his bed as he falls on it. And then like this whole scene, like obviously later on they're kind of gonna walk this back, but they
Mhm.
have like these teases early on to him, like you mentioned it earlier with powers, but like him floating, they tease it sooner. It's almost like Zach, I don't know if you've ever talked about this before, but it's almost like they think it's gonna be like a 5 year show or something.
You know what? It's almost like they imply that throughout the show that because yeah, if you're a 5 year show, they're like, yeah, let's have him like float a couple times in the first season,
Yeah.
but and then at the fast forwarding all the way to the the season finale, like
hmm
he feels like he's floating or flying in the hurricane and then tornado, which
Yeah.
is fine, but then like when you're not gonna be Superman until 10 years, like it creates false expectations to the audience when you
False
see
hope.
this guy
Yeah.
floating in the second
Yeah.
episode. Like Jonathan says, you start breaking the laws of gravity. We're in uncharted territory. So anyway,
Yeah. Exactly. And then they're at a produce sale after Clark sees Lana and Whitney. Lana mentions not seeing him at the dance, and Clark looks at Whitney, saying he was a
gonna tie it
little
up.
tied up. Like this, he's a little clever. Like this early,
Uh
like I was telling, he's kind of personality in these early, like his
yes,
first two seasons.
they all have personality. Like that's the thing. Like Lana is so well written, Clark is well written. The
Yeah,
dynamics are interesting. I love how Jonathan comes, "Hey, Whitney, great game!" Like he can, like, how pissed off are you, Clark, seeing your
yeah.
dad come congratulate this asshole who just tied you up, put you in the field. Also,
That's very on brand for Jonathan, though, too.
right? No, it is.
Yeah,
I haven't seen a game that good since I played.
yeah.
Island in the Sun by Weezer and here, right? Again,
Nice.
A+ soundtrack.
When
In
they
this
had the
first,
money, like you
right,
said.
right when they had the money.
Yeah. And then Whitney tells Clark last night was a joke. He needs the necklace. He doesn't have it. Like basically, he tells Whitney, "You better go look for it in the cornfield."
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like that Clark having some backbone there.
yeah. Greg, complete with the new look, minus the glasses and with the leather jacket, comes up to Lana and she goes like, "I didn't recognize you without the glasses."
Yeah.
And then like
That's a
that
Superman
line,
reference. Love
I
that.
love that
Love
line.
that.
Yeah. She tries to he tries to set up a study date with Lana, and he's like kind of pushy here. Like it's kind of I know that she kind of could see through it. It's like this guy is clearly into me and like asking me out, but like he's like, "Oh, we can go back to my place." She's like, "How about we just have it at the library instead?" Basically, like very trying to be like, "We're friends. I'm in a relationship."
She handles this very well.
Yeah,
As this girl, like with this guy who's clearly creeping on her. She's
yeah, I
like, sure, I'll
know.
help you out, but I'll help you out in a public space. And it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, again, Lana, very well written character here in the early seasons. And then
yeah.
Whitney shows up. Look, okay, we've been kind of mean to Whitney so far. I mean, at least I have.
Mhm.
You've been saying he's a nice guy. I think I don't know, but like,
He has his moments.
but like, yeah, if you're Whitney and you gotta like beat these guys away from your girlfriend all the time, maybe be a
Yeah.
little more. You understand why Whitney's like this because they're just out at this fair and this guy's creeping on his girlfriend, cornered her in this tent, trying to hang out with her.
The
So
town's
yeah,
obsessed with her.
he calls him Bug Boy, which is
Yeah,
this is a rare meteor freak who actually has like a name because Chloe also calls him
yeah.
Bug Boy later. So anyway,
They don't have a Cisco Ramon on this show to like come up with like
no,
colorful names for the
no,
characters.
no, they do not. They do not.
Yeah. So like Whitney tells Greg to quit tailing his girlfriend. He's like, "You afraid of a little competition?" And Whitney says, "We're not in competition." And he finds her lead. If he finds like any more butterflies left by him, like basically he'll know about it. Like I like this whole thing of him being like, "Hey, you need to." But this one he actually feels justified because this dude is stalking her, and like Whitney kind of has like a, clued into the fact like, hey, this is creepy and weird, like you need to stop. Basically, it's
Yeah.
not like just pure jealousy, or because he does not see Greg as competition at all.
No, Whitney's in the right here.
Yeah. So Lex shows up, and then he has this line about can't knock your taste in women as he sees like a child, basically, and
Well, you're all grown up now, as he tells her later. This is like it's kind of weird, but it works as it's Lex Luthor in the pilot or the
Mhm.
metamorphosis here. But then you think further, like he ends up marrying this girl.
Yeah,
So in retrospect, that makes it creepier. Um, but I do like Lex's energy here, though, right?
yeah,
He's like, "What happened to you last night? They tied you to a
hmm
stake in the middle of a field. Even the Romans saved that for special occasions." And then
exactly.
he takes a bite out of that apple and then just like drops it because I don't know what that's about, but I don't know. Like, there's a reason Lex and Michael Rosenbaum left such a strong impression in these early episodes because you have to reestablish like who is Lex Luthor? Why does
hmm
why does this work? Why would he and Clark be friends? Like,
Right.
and these episodes do so much of that heavy lifting. The dynamic between them is so good.
Right. And then Whitney is driving and Greg crashes his car. The Kents arrive in time and Whitney um like gets pulled from the car. Like he's saving him, he's knocked out, and then the truck explodes. Jonathan tells him like basically Martha's proud of you and that they're like basically back on the farm. Clark mentions how he floated earlier and then he's like, we'll figure this out together. Again,
Yeah.
alluding to that line you said earlier, but you can clearly tell Clark is kind of scared here. Like,
Yeah.
fair enough, man.
You would be. You would be. To your point earlier, though, this is a little weaker performance, I think, from Tom Welling. He's like, I'm scared. I'm like, eh. Also, I like the little moment after that truck blows up where
Hmm
they go look for Clark and they find him and he's like hunched over Whitney to protect him. And then Jonathan touches his back and like,
Yeah.
like it's hot. Like that's just a
Yeah.
little thing, a little moment that like kind of like reactions like that. Also, sound effects of like when people are moving big objects, like that
hmm
does so much heavy lifting for all these super feats we see on the show, I think.
Right. And then at Lex's mansion, he puts the necklace in a lead box. Cut to Lana riding a horse, and it's clearly a stunt double and not Lana. Did you
Yeah, I
notice this as
I
well?
noticed that too. Yeah, this time I did notice that. Yeah.
And then again, like even like back then, you got to think of it like, smaller TVs. I know we started getting
Yeah.
bigger TVs, but lower quality, broadcasts and everything. People didn't notice stuff like
Let's
that
just
back
get
then.
somebody with long black hair. It's fine. No
Yeah.
one will know. So
Exactly. And so Lex meets her as she stables her horse. He mentions they've basically it's like, oh, we've met before, and then mentions the Lex skinny dipping story with the girl. He's clearly embarrassed by this. Lex tries to play wingman and get her to go for Clark instead of Whitney and tells her to ask Whitney what he was doing before the big game and tell her aunt he stopped by. So again, kind of like I mentioned earlier, like these two episodes, I think are the only ones they mentioned the whole like Luther's and like Nell
yeah.
thing. Like, what is her? Is she like real estate? I think they say that at some point.
It is, yeah, I think doesn't she tells Whitney like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Aunt Nell's sold a lot of land to the Luthers already." I'm like, "What are you talking land?
Yeah.
You have
What?
land, Nell?" Yeah, again, just getting the adult stuff to do. I look, the reason why all this Lex stuff is not creepy is because he's trying to help Clark out.
Yeah,
Like he's
that's
trying to
fair.
help his teenage friend get with a teenage girl. He is not
Yeah.
insert. He's embarrassed. It's interesting to see him on the like. Lex is
Yeah.
usually totally cool and control. He's like, oh wow, that was you.
Mm.
Oh well,
No,
you
that
all
was
grew
you.
up now. Well, so yeah, anyway. But they get this is. I just kept realizing like, man, Lana was so like well written.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, for somebody who just moved here, you have a lot of opinions. So I'm like, this is some good dialogue from her.
She's like
Um,
grounded too. Like it's like a kind of a grounded character in this kind of weird,
yes.
town.
I do like that, and it kind of a little moment from the very beginning when she takes her
Yeah.
homecoming queen thing off and puts it in the drawer, whatever.
hmm
Like similar thing here. Like there's this whole display of all these awards she's won. She's like, yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of tacky, but Nell likes it. I'm like, so she's not about this like awards and all
Yeah.
that kind of. I think that's very informative to her character. And even though she's like the prettiest girl in school and the one everybody's stalking, like she's not vain, she's not conceited, like she's just a sweet girl who likes riding horses. I mean, that's it. So anyway, I think
Yeah.
that says a lot about her character too.
Exactly. Like she's got dimension to her, like which is, you could easily just write this very one-dimensional kind of cliched character, but I'm glad that they obviously add more to it because like she doesn't obviously stick with it long, but like the whole high school cheerleader thing could very easily just be that and that's it. So again, like
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
although I wouldn't have minded if she hadn't stayed a cheerleader, I don't know, maybe for like a season. I mean, the fact that she like immediately quits, you know,
yeah, it's crazy.
because like if
That
there's
coffee
man,
shop.
yeah. No, I was just gonna mention the
Yeah, go
Smallville
ahead.
action figures. Yeah, the Smallville action figures that they came out with when the show started. It was Clark, Lex, and Lana, and she's in a cheerleading outfit. I'm like, well, that's just totally inaccurate. So what?
But yeah, the I noticed that, and then also I noticed that coffee shop, the beanery or something. It lasted a lot longer than I realized in this first season. Because I was like, oh, like they're at the Talon in like the third or fourth episode. No, it lasts for a minute before they eventually transition over to the Talon.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's not to the second half of the first season they even opened the Talon. So
Yeah. So the mom is horrified to back at Greg's house. The mom is horrified to find the thermostat set at 103 and the web covered bedroom. Yeah. He
didn't
kills
even
her
know
from
you
the
could do
webs from
that.
his mouth. Yeah, I know. Like it, because this one, I guess we know where his webs. He's got organic webbing, obviously. Like he's not like Spider-Man. Well, I guess if you're doing the Sam Raimi, like the Gone Wrong stuff, he is like
Hmm.
the Sam Raimi dark version of Spider-Man.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Because he's kind of creepy in that one too. Speaking of like using a camera to take pictures of, because like I know he's like, oh, it's for the school paper, and then like he
These are
takes a lot of pictures.
all our favorite superheroes. You know, I mean, with the
Yeah.
life lessons. Look, there's things to learn to do and things to learn to not do from our superhero models. Okay, so
Right.
but no, the
Um,
whole thing that the Greg says, he's like,
mhm.
you know, the Pharaoh spider, it eats its mother. I'm like, oh, there it is. Okay, creepo.
Yeah. Back at the mansion, Clark admires Lex's display of the Trojan horse and tries to push Clark towards getting with Lana. He's got his Trojan horse and shows him the necklace. He clocks his weird reaction to the necklace as he opens the box. He explains the box is his mother gave it to him. It's made from the armor of Saint George, patron saint of Boy Scouts, gave it to him before she died. I guess he's like trying to send me a message or something. Obviously, this is retconned a little bit later, but it kind of works.
It's a little bit of a retcon, but I mean, because in Memoria, one of the best episodes of the show, everybody go
Yeah.
check it out. There's a flashback where Lionel gives him this and says, "Oh, well, your mother got this for you, but she's too ill to give it to you right now." I'm like, okay, that's a fine. I don't mind that. I think that tracks.
Mhm.
I also really like, and again, this is the ideology of Lex versus Clark. Lex is like, you know, if you hadn't pulled him out of that truck accident, your problems will be solved. And then
Yeah.
there's like a beat there. And Lex is like, oh, I'm kidding, of course. I'm like, you're not kidding. Lex isn't kidding. He was just kind of putting that out there to see how
Yeah.
Clark would respond to it. Um, interesting. I mean, you said it like Lex does notice Clark's like, when he opens
Yeah.
that, but they don't really, it's too early to do anything like
Yeah.
that. It's just too early. You can't have Lex Luthor realize, you know, Clark Kent is allergic to these green rocks and you just
Yeah.
can't do it. But it's interesting that they had Lex Luthor in possession of kryptonite in the pilot of Smallville, you know.
Yeah.
And this is what they does to it. Though it gives it back to Clark, and lucky for Clark, that box is made out of lead, huh?
Yeah. It's really lucky. He insists there be a key to Lana's heart. And then like he tries to hand it to him, and then like Clark's like, no. He's like, was it with Kents and gifts?
Mm-hmm.
When like he basically tells him no, and then like he eventually relents and takes it. At
Mm-hmm.
Smallville High, Lana asks Whitney where he was and where. And like he lies, and then she confronts him with what he did. He says it was just a prank. She asks, if it's like for it back, and then he says he doesn't have it, and she's like, oh, is that like a prank too, basically?
I
Is what she
thought that
said.
was pretty good. Again, Lana, like some great dialogue here. You know, is that a prank too? Like,
She's actually
uh,
funny in real life, man. I kind of wish they incorporated more of like the actual actress's like personality into the character.
yes, Kristen Crick. You see her. I mean, she's funny. She's well spoken. I
Yeah.
think it's the like season one Lana is very much like Kristen Kirk. I'm like she's
Yeah.
kind of like why don't you just be quiet with a sweater and read a book and that sort of thing. And that's
Mhm.
Kristen Kirk, you know. And of course, you know, as the show goes on,
Yeah.
these absurd things they do with the character, and she gets further and further away from that. But I like Lana when she's just because that's she should just be a grounded, normal person,
Hmm.
right? She shouldn't be like marrying Lex Luthor and going to Paris and having superpower, all these things they do with her over the years. You revisit these early episodes and you remember why. Again, like I said, you fall in love with the Clark and
Right.
Lana the relationship.
Right. Um, Greg confronts Lana on
Oh
this
God,
their
this.
study thing. Yeah. It's like you blow me off for your boyfriend. Again, listen to that sentence you just said,
Yeah.
Greg. Like, come on, man.
She
And then,
handles it very well, though. She's like,
yeah.
I'm busy right now. I am sorry. I will talk to you later. Like, this is a very mature
Hmm.
response to this guy who's like really starting to cross some lines.
Delusional too. Like with
Yeah.
the whole like it's like, oh, Clark is more important than me. And she mentioned she has to go talk to Clark. And then back at the farm, Clark opens the box and we see the effects of the necklace on his hand. It's kind of like I think this is original to this show, the whole like veins and everything, and like how you actually see like an external like look. Because most of the time he just rides around in pain in other versions. Like,
Ugh.
yeah, you don't see the like veins. Or in My Adventures, they actually do more of like kind of I would consider it kind of like maybe a Silver Agey type thing where you see like
Mhm.
crystal formations and stuff start coming from his arms. They usually turn green in the old Silver Age stuff though.
Yeah. Easier to do an animation than live
Yeah.
action for sure. But, back when Smallville had a budget, I mean, at least the first 2 or 3 seasons, we'd see this effect. And it was really cool because visualizing it, um, they just didn't have the budget to do it for all 10 seasons. But I thought that was really, you could really kind of see the pain that it
Hmm.
causes him, like his blood's boiling, his veins are
Yeah.
moving, and I guess he's trying to build up a tolerance, but he can't do it. And this informs him about the kryptonite, and informs him about how lead blocks it. Like, it's so
Yeah.
informative to him. It helps him in this very episode. This information will help him at the end.
Yeah. And then he closes it and his hand goes back to normal. And then we see Lana in the loft. She admires his loft. His dad built it, called his Fortress of Solitude. Again,
About
they
that?
never thought
No.
they were gonna do it.
No, like we'll never get to that, so we'll just have a fun reference here. Hey, did you know you can see my house from here with this telescope?
That's
No,
the
no,
best part.
really? Really?
Yeah, he's like, what? And then he moves it up
Yeah.
after that,
He's like,
like
oh,
towards the
okay. So,
sky.
so they, so look, they play it as cute. They do.
Yeah.
The show, they didn't know how creepy. I guess they just didn't have. They lost all perspective about how creepy that would be. But that's
Hmm.
the. But again, and this is the last thing I'll say about, like I said earlier,
Yeah.
the fact that they had a creepy stalker guy watching her in this very episode, kind of,
Right.
you should have connected those two things in your head. But
They acknowledge it in the commentary though too. They say it's kind of weird.
yeah,
Like, I don't know.
you wrote this. You made it
Yeah.
weird. Why did you do this? So
I don't know who
anyway,
could have done this. It's like that Eric Andre show thing where he shoots what
oh
his
right, yeah.
co-host and
Who
everything.
could
It's
have
that
done
same kind of
this?
vibe. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good thing Lana moves in season 2, so it doesn't not an
Right.
issue after that. So there you go.
Exactly. So she came over to apologize for what Whitney did to him. And then she's like, I didn't come to defend him. She came to like see Clark basically. She mentions Lex told her he was like basically you're being a good friend. Basically told him about it. Like Lex told her about it being a good friend. And then she mentions her lost necklace. She explains the necklace. Nell had it made, compared it to life, and changed. Sometimes it's painful, sometimes it's beautiful, but oftentimes it's both, which I thought was like really because we don't really get much with Nell, but like these little brief moments kind of be like, oh, well, she's not like because I know she gets a lot of slack for being like the kind of absentee
Right.
person in her life, basically. But I don't know, they had these. It's off screen, but they had these moments in here.
Look, I mean, she raised her for 15 years before she moved, so I mean, give her
Yeah.
some credit there, right? But yeah, it is again a lot of having a life and people outside of Lex, Clark, and Chloe,
Hmm.
right? Like I'm for that. I'm totally for that. So whenever she has these kinds of stories or things that are about Nell or anybody, I like it.
Right.
And that's a great line
Uh,
from Nell. Some good wisdom from her aunt.
totally. And then cut to Greg using still wool to shed his skin in the
It's
shower. I know they
disgusting.
used like meat or something, right? Like that, right? It was like bologna, I think is what I heard with the that
Yeah,
scene.
that's disgusting. I mean,
It's
when
really
Pete says the
nasty.
same thing, it's like imagine molting like that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Clark goes to help his dad in the barn, but is tackled by Greg in the loft. He throws him off. There's something in the rafters, he says, and then he tells Jonathan. They start looking for him, and he saves Jonathan from falling onto some metal saws. Clark tells Martha he thinks it was Greg, who Martha says Pete and Clark used to hang out with in grade school. And then they notice green shoe prints on the ceiling, which is some just to show he's there, but that's something obviously later on that you don't really see any visuals for. It's just for this moment.
Yeah, I guess it's this why how he sticks to the wall, right? I mean, I
Yeah,
mean, that's the explanation, but
that's a good
yeah,
point.
yeah.
Yeah. Jonathan is so incredulous to all of this. Clark tells Jonathan about the Wall of Weird, says it's all his fault, but Jonathan blames Luthor Corp. You can't blame yourself over something you had no control over.
Yeah, I mean,
And
Jonathan would blame Luthor Corp, and it's like, who
every
knows what they've been putting in
everything.
the water? I mean, it's a fair point. I mean, they are doing some experiments, so he's not totally wrong.
Everything with this guy. It's like I don't know if you've ever seen Fairly Odd Parents, but it's kind of like the Dinkelberg kind of thing with
Mm,
with Timmy's dad in that show. Kind of is that what it reminds me of? With everything is this guy's fault, or Flanders on The Simpsons, basically, where he just like hates him, like he can't change what happened to Lana's parents. Clark and Clark asks Chloe about Greg. Chloe worries Clark is outgrowing her, and he said he won't accept vertically. Again, like these
that's a cute
cute,
line.
charming moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Greg worked for the Torch. Like, wow, okay. Other
Yeah,
employees of the
everybody worked.
Torch. Yeah,
Everybody worked for that place, man.
everybody did,
Speaking of your thing.
but no one did at the same time because it was always just Chloe. But I like how they establish, and we'll get into it now because her and Pete and
Yeah.
Clark go investigate their house. I like how they established that they used to be friends with him.
Hmm.
Because like, and we're early enough in the show where like that makes sense. So
Yeah.
it kind of adds. You don't have to because Clark and Greg haven't had a scene together up until the end, but you don't need it because they
Yeah.
were friends when they were kids. So like I don't know, that adds a little more weight to this freak of the week than just some guy you just met, for example, that he has no connection to at all. So
Right. And then Chloe does some research. They didn't have much luck. They put together that he was bit by meteor infected bugs, and then they go to Greg's place with Pete, obviously. They break and enter and discover the shedding in the shower and the creepy video of Lana in the web covered room. And Chloe has that whole line of like, looks like he just found his like mate or something
yeah,
like that. And
you're not
then
the only one who has the hots for Lana. I'm like, it's this open secret between the three of them.
yeah. And then he discovers Greg's mom's like mummified corpse. Clark
Yeah.
does again, saying to your thing earlier about maybe they don't know he has X-ray or something. So he just goes over there like maybe there's something in there or something.
You know what? I thought that too. I thought that about his mom's corpse, Greg's mom's corpse. I also thought
Hmm.
that about the box because
Yeah.
Clark's looking at the box
Hmm.
and he can and like it's almost like they were like, hey, look, try to see through it, and act like you can't, like, but they
Yeah.
don't. They hadn't decided about X-ray yet.
Yeah.
But those are two instances that I did clock in this episode that seemed like it would have been X-ray vision because he looks like why would he go over there and look for anything, right?
Right.
So I don't know. Like it's early enough in the show; they're still figuring it all out.
That's
But
true.
yeah, those are two things I clocked this time.
That's interesting. I never really watched that scene with that in mind, but I'll definitely when I go back, 'cause inevitably I'll go back and watch this again. But I'll look for it like with that in mind to see maybe if I think the same. But so Whitney talks to Lana at the stables and explains how he regret what he did. He was jealous of Clark, and then Greg kidnaps Lana and knocks out Whitney. Clark shows up and Whitney wakes up and tells like Clark what happened. He's at the foundry. He goes to apologize, but Clark has run off. He discovers, Clark discovers Lana in a web cocoon in a treehouse that Pete had alluded to earlier that they all hung out with, except for Clark, who doubted its structural integrity.
Again, character, just personality from these guys. I didn't
Right.
think it was structurally sound. Yeah, but as we find out, there's meteor rocks everywhere, and that's why he was like,
Yeah,
nauseous when they went over there.
exactly. Clark tries to reason with Greg. He pushes him out of the treehouse and follows him to the Creekside Foundry that's littered with meteor rocks. Greg says, like, because he has this whole line, like, I've changed, and, like, they fight,
I've
basically. But
changed
then,
too. Like that's a badass line, right? I've changed. They
yeah,
start fighting. Yeah,
clearly
it's still the
dialogue.
same, Clark.
Yeah,
Just get
no, you
sick
haven't
here like we were
changed.
kids. By the way, we haven't mentioned the Chad
Yeah.
Donella guy. I like him. He's kind of
Mhm.
he
Yeah,
he
he's
shows up.
great.
He shows up in so many commercials, man. He's been in like Target commercials, Taco Bell commercials. Like I'm just saying, like if you've been watching TV
Get
over the
that
last
work,
25
man.
years, yeah, like good for him. Keep getting them checks, but it's like, oh yeah, it's the guy. I
Yeah,
think he was in a Progressive commercial recently with Flo,
that
like even
doesn't
not too
surprise
long
me.
ago. So good for him, man. I just keep seeing his
Yeah,
face, like totally out of nowhere, seeing him like on a TV. I'm watching like a baseball game. I see him pop up. I'm like, wow, it's Bug Boy from Smallville. So I think he does a great job
yeah,
with his character.
definitely. I had a moment like that actually yesterday, where me and my wife are on season 3 right now of her first time for rewatch slash watch through, and then I've seen the show a bunch of times. But we were watching the Magnetic episode, and I was looking at
Mm.
the villain in that, and I'm like, why does he kind of look like I described him as kind of like a missing like Frankie Muniz brother mixed with like that there's an actor in Teen Wolf that kind of resembles him too. He's been in a lot of stuff. He's in a lot of the Air Bud movies, and then like he's
Yes.
kept
Yes.
acting like in The
Yeah.
Rookie and a bunch of stuff recently.
Yeah, I remember he's in the Airbud connection there. I know for sure. Yeah, that's fun. That's the great thing about Smallville when it runs that long, and especially you
Mm,
got a lot of. I mean, they're getting younger actors because they're supposed to all be
yeah.
playing high schoolers. Like you never know where these careers are going to go next, and it just
Mhm.
some people hit it big. And you see them in a lot of stuff, and it's fun. It's fun to identify people like that.
Exactly. So Evil Spider-Man starts mentioning some bug facts about a buffalo ant that can lift 30 times its own body weight as he flings him. And then I love the weird jerky movements as he jumps around the
Right.
place. It almost looks like they did some sort of video effect to it because the way he jumps from like
Mhm.
thing to thing, it's kind of unnatural, kind of uncanny valley looking.
I don't know what they did if it was like some kind of CGI or stop motion photography with him or something, but like they put a lot of attention. Did they need to do that? No, they
No.
didn't, and they won't for years in other Freaks of the Weeks. But it really sold that this guy was truly mutated into a bug, which is like I think there are a lot of Freak of the Weeks that get silly over the years. Like even in the
Right.
next episode, Hothead, like the football coach, he had kryptonite in his sauna, so now he's has a pyrotechnic. I'm like that doesn't make any sense. But like, okay, fine. The guy out in the meteor in the field when the meteor shower happened, I buy that
Mhm.
something happened to that guy, right?
Right.
And then the guy that got swarmed by bugs, as Chloe did in her saw in her research, like apparently if you get bit by all these bugs, you start to take on the properties of the bugs. Like, you know what?
Mhm.
Fine. That I can
Yeah.
suspend my disbelief for that, right? So these are two of the like most solid freak of the weeks there are, and then we get the stuff like, oh, if you get electrocuted in a pond, you become young. I was like, well, that's bullshit. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So anyway, I'm just saying is I appreciate the effort story wise and visually they
Yeah.
put into these early freaks of the week.
Exactly. So Clark gets behind the lead lifting thing, and I'm not really into construction, guys. I don't know the word for it, but
Yeah, it's made
and he
of lead.
fights.
That
Yeah,
would be a thought bubble if this was a comic. But since it's live action, he has to say it out loud. It's made out of lead. So
and then he fights Greg again. He flings him near a chain, and then Greg pulls like basically he pulls like the chain, and then Clark tries to warn him about it, but it's too late. I call it like a scooper thing falls on Greg, and a bunch of bugs crawl away from where he was. And then it kind of unclear, like what obviously later on we kind of get a vibe from it. I always
yeah,
assumed he died, or no, not he
this
died, but like the bugs he
he,
got
be,
put back together.
he became the bugs or something. I mean, look,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. That's what I was talking about earlier. Like, what the resolution to some of these freaks of the week, like the guy in Cool, the freeze guy. They
Hmm.
push him into a pond. Okay,
Yeah.
is he gonna stay in that pond forever? Is he dead? Like I don't know. Like you don't know.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll never see Greg Arkin again, will we? Like he's clearly dead. He's never
Yeah,
coming back.
totally.
Um,
Totally not.
now he comes back in the 200th episode, Homecoming, and which is appropriate, I think. I think
Yeah.
you need to represent all the freaks of the week, and he's a solid one to pick. But no, it doesn't make sense that he came back and he's like an adult living a life, driving a car.
Mm.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
No.
It doesn't make any sense based off how we saw this episode end. I know for years because when they started to bring back freaks of the week, this guy was
Mhm.
always on the list. Like, oh, he can like be the bugs and come back as a thing, and yeah,
Yeah.
sure, why not? And they never did until the season 10. Um,
Yeah.
but they always make it where the villains kind of defeat themselves because Superman can't kill
That's
people,
true.
right? So
Disney
like,
death.
yeah, Jeremy Creek, like he electrocuted himself. He didn't die. He was fine. But Clark didn't cause that. He caused that by crashing his car. And
Mhm.
then Greg pulled this lever to smash himself. So
Yeah.
plausible deniability from Clark all the way through here.
Exactly. And then back in the treehouse, Whitney saves the knocked out Lana. They kind of do this thing where they kind of mislead you at first, and you think it's Clark that went
Yep.
back to save her, but it is Whitney.
Well,
And
they
then
did.
we,
They did the same thing twice in this episode, right? Because when Clark's like, "We got to save
yeah,
Lana," and then we cut to this POV shot in the stable before she gets kidnapped, and you think it's
that's
Greg.
right.
This hand reaches out and it's Whitney. I'm like, so they do that. I look, that's fun. Those are fun story
Yeah.
visual gags and techniques, and you really and then but then it's Whitney and Lana, and then Clark sees from afar that they're going
Mhm.
off, and he's rescued her.
Right. And then like we hear the calling wherever you will go.
Oh my God,
Classic song.
what a Mount Rushmore Smallville song, right? I mean, like top 10 for sure. Like what this jam, this was the jam of the 2000s. Like this song, you still hear it today on the
Yeah.
radio, but especially back then, like you heard that was the great thing about Smallville and its music. Like it would either introduce you to songs that you'd hear
Hmm.
everywhere, or songs you heard everywhere would show up on the show. And I'm like,
Yeah.
soundtrack of my life, man. I love like this A plus music direction from this show. What a needle
Did
drop, right?
Did you ever get the CDs back in the day, the Talon
Oh yeah, the
mix?
Talon mix.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I did. Yeah, and they could have
Nice.
made volumes of those. They only made the Talon mix and the Metropolis mix. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the business behind it or whatever, but they could
Maybe
have
they
came
didn't
out with
sell
one every
many.
season. I would have bought one. So
Maybe it's just a selling thing. Maybe they didn't sell many and they were like, well, we're not moving that many units. Maybe we can
yeah,
just,
maybe
I
so.
don't know. But yeah, so Clark grabs the box at the loft and delivers the necklace to Lana's door. She thinks it's Whitney, like basically he left it for her, and then he sadly
Well, she
walks
would
off in
think
the
that
night.
because he had the necklace last, and
Right.
she's like, "You better find it." I'm like, "You can't blame Clark for it." But see, that's part of the altruism of Superman. Like he could have. Lex told him, "Hey, show her the necklace. Tell her what happened. You'll win her heart." She came to see him. He hides the box earlier. He doesn't tell her. You can
Hmm.
tell he's real awkward, and kind of he's like, "Ah, should
Shoots
I do it?
himself
Should
in
I
the
not?"
foot.
Yeah. And now, I mean, he knew what was going to happen here, right? He was going to
Hmm.
leave it anonymously, and then
Yeah.
she was probably going to think Whitney did. I'm sure Whitney took credit for it. Oh yeah,
Yeah. Totally
but
did that. That was totally me.
that's the heartbreak of the young Clark Kent, who is very. I mean, this is Spider-Man kind of episode, right? But he is
Yeah,
Spider-Man-esque as far as like the like
definitely.
he gets his superhero wins, but his personal life losses, and but he seems kind of like, he seems
Yeah.
kind of happy, like kind of gives a nice shrug to himself as he walks off, and we pan up to the sky with the song, and like I don't, it was an appropriate kind of melancholy ending for him, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then like I said, uh complete with that music. From the football fantasy, we see the credits and
Yes,
then
that's the music. Yep.
yeah, and then the because I know you always list the directors. I wanted to do that here. So part one was directed by David Nutter, and then part two is directed by Michael Watkins and Philip. So I'm gonna butcher this, Sarisha or something. I'm gonna
Mm.
say, written by Al Goff and Miles Millar, and then and I said, interesting way to watch this. I've never seen it edited together like this. So this was definitely one of those where I'm because I'm obviously writing that audio thing and then rewatching the show. I was very passionate about it when I grew up, and I remember one of my friends in junior high and high school. We watched the show like not together. Well, there actually was times we'd watch it together where we lived in the same neighborhood and we would I remember one time distinctly being really excited and calling him on the phone and being like as we were watching the episode being like,
Mm.
dude, can you believe this is happening? This is such a good episode. Then after a while realizing I wasn't watching it, be like, I'll call you back after this is done because I actually wanted to watch it. But
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but I know with this is definitely one of those like I always champion physical media on this show, but definitely guys, go out there and buy this, check it out. The You can tell this is old because the price from Wonder Video back then was $70, 69.99 is what it says on the back of
Wow.
this thing. Yeah.
Wow.
And then 1 week rental, it says. It was charming that it still had all this, all this extra stuff left over from wherever it came from.
Well, when you rewatch the pilot or Metamorphosis again, will you watch it like this? Is this going to be in your rotation now?
I might. I did. So we'll get into ratings a little bit. I know that
Hmm.
you liked them edited together. I did as well. It's definitely like a unique viewing experience, but it depends like how much time I got, right? So
Yep.
like if
It's
I'm
very
just wanting
true.
to watch the pilot, I'll watch it and then maybe watch this. But like I don't know. Like I did like this version of it. So maybe I'll throw it up here. Obviously, you know, it's a unique viewing experience. And they actually have like a little Superman symbol on the side too. I didn't notice before. But yeah.
Oh, you're right. They gotta.
Yeah.
That's
Just in
right.
case you forgot.
On the shelf, they got to make sure. Oh, is that Superman right there?
Yeah.
Look, I totally understand why they did that. So
Yeah, funnily enough, with my thing I wrote that Superman comic that I wrote when I was in sixth grade, I think. So I think that was like 2006 or something
mhm.
like that. So I called it because it's funnily enough the name of it. I was like, what's a Superman thing? I called it Krypton. back then because
Oh.
I was like Smallville, Superman, Krypton, I guess. There's nothing else named that. It didn't really
Hmm.
factor into the story in any kind of way, but I was like just something Superman sounding as the title.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's a good show. That's another good show, by the way, Krypton. I don't know if you watched
Yeah,
Krypton or
I've
not,
seen a
but
little
I
bit of
really
it.
enjoy. I really enjoyed that show.
Yeah, I own the series. I need to. I started watching it. I saw Walter Steele
Yep.
as as General Zod in that show.
Yep.
He's pretty
He's
good.
fantastic. He's fantastic in that.
Yeah. But cool. So usually by this point we usually do our I'm trying to remember what order. I think it's usually we do heart humor spectacle, which is something from the Flash. That's something that they would write. Like they apparently they had that somewhere in the office where like every time they wrote that, they would have include these three things like heart, humor, and spectacle for like a
Hmm.
proper like script for this. And then I always try to, include that like with like certain moments that stood out for me. For this one, since it is a combined episode, I'm not expecting us to pull like, three separate like ones for each like part. We can just do three parts from this one. So I can go first
Hmm.
if you want to kind of
Yeah,
give you yeah, cool. So
that'll help.
um yeah, for me the heart would be obviously that scene you found us, like the scene at the end with Clark talking to Jonathan was just such a great moment, calling back to
Hmm.
that earlier scene. The spectacle for me, like I'm trying to honestly the meteor shower at the beginning, that was so iconic and everything. And then the humor would probably be like again, it's a lot of stuff. Not let me not do something from the pilot. I'm trying to think if there's like some funny moments from the second episode, just so it's not all the first one. I'm trying to think of like maybe some funny. The second one's kind of serious versus
The
the
serious stuff. Yeah.
yeah, versus the first one. I guess I'm gonna cop out and say from the pilot again, just the stuff with the like him being like your parents aren't exactly from around here and that like look
Yeah.
he gives them and everything. But yeah, how about you?
I think those are all great answers. I will those could be my own answers, but to give
Okay.
alternate answers to mix it up. So for Heart, I would say the scene in the graveyard with Clark and Lana, where
Oh
they're quote
yeah.
unquote talking to her parents, and I think that's very cute and a great
Hmm.
connective point for them. For humor, um, I mean, I guess I'll go with Clark and Lex in Metamorphosis. You know, there's
Okay.
their whole vibe. They got a couple of scenes there at the farmers market, and also with the Battle of Troy model. Like Lex has some good dialogue for him. They have some good back and forth. So just that energy that he brings to it, which people probably didn't expect from Lex Luthor back then, right? That
Yeah,
makes
it's
it
true.
doubly fun. And then for spectacle, I'll go with the car accident because I mean,
Yeah.
when Lex hits Clark, I mean, like I've watched that 1,000 times, and I don't see wires, I don't see seams, I don't see like the way it was edited and shot. I mean, seamless. It looks like a
Mhm.
guy hit another guy with a car and they went off
Yeah.
a bridge. Like it's fantastic stuff, and it holds up very well. And that's it's we see it in the opening credits for years. It's funny because there's some effects they keep in the opening credits for years. I'm like, why did you showing that? That's not a good effect. You keep showing it, but the car accident is A+ and
Yeah.
great stuff. So those are my answers.
Cool. And actually I'm gonna change my my
Okay.
spectacle just so I have something from the second
Well,
episode.
I would have said the meteor shower if you weren't going to, but that's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, the honestly that final that's always stuck with me. Speaking of like stunts and stuff, that part where like it's either Greg throws Clark or somebody gets thrown basically,
Mhm.
and then you see them like kick their foot out whenever they like are landing in the foundry, like when they're thrown
Mm.
across it and everything. That always stuck with me through watching that episode. Like I've always remembered that moment. Like that's I guess that'd be my spectacle. Just like cool stunt work like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. But so for at this point, usually we rate things out of five lightning bolts, basically. And so for this one, I'm having a hard time not just making fun of Rosenbaum here about the pilot and everything.
Nothing's better than the pilot. You can't get better than the pilot. So, yeah.
I don't know why he says that, man. Like it's one of those where I'm just like, dude, he
I
doesn't really like the show, though, to be fair.
well, I understand the sentiment, I guess, right? But it's like
Mhm.
you're telling me the first thing you ever did, nothing's ever going to be that good. Like that's kind of
Yeah,
a depressing way to look at things, isn't it? Like you
right.
could never be better than what you did 200 episodes ago. So you're
Ridiculous.
giving it five lightning bolts.
Yeah, probably yeah, five lightning bolts for the combined episode.
I'm gonna give it 5 lightning bolts as well. You know, when I first started always on the Smallville, people go back. I'm like, I think I gave the pilot like, I don't know, it's like a B plus. Like I didn't want to, didn't want to do what Rosenbaum did. I mean, he did that years later than me, so I wasn't trying to respond to that. I was just like,
Mhm.
if I give the first thing an A plus, then where's there to go? Where's there to, like, so that was
Right.
my mindset. But I look back, I'm like, man, like I really should have rated the pilot higher in my in my episode. So here you go, guys. I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5, which is equivalent to an A plus for me. And I love
There you go.
Metamorphosis too. If you asked me back then, I would have said, I don't know. I think I like Metamorphosis more because I had that. Again, that's the first one I had even seen parts of, so I have that
Oh,
nostalgic
that's fair.
attachment. But no, this is a great pilot. It sets. Well, I think we appreciate it. I think we take it for granted. That's what I should say. I
Yeah.
think we take it for granted. We don't appreciate it as much as we should, because it was wildly successful, and we have 200 plus episodes after. But if this pilot doesn't work the way it does, then we don't have 200 plus episodes and 10 seasons afterwards. So don't take it for granted. Give it your 5 out of 5s and your A pluses, and it's a great episode and a great double episode for this pilot Smallville pilot DVD.
Yeah, there you go. And also, I wanted to take this moment briefly to kind of talk about because I've alluded before to the conception of this show of flashbacks as a thing. And so for me, kind of like with you with Smallville, where you identify so heavily with it, with the Flash and like the Flash TV show, I remember like having a because I got into Arrow, I was in college and I was watching that, and I remember watching it. During our breaks during classes and like,
Mhm.
watching it on a little laptop. And then like when The Flash came out, I remember going over to my dad's and we all watched it together and meeting John Wesley Shipp during the first season while it was still
Mm.
going. And one of my friends had a Star Labs shirt. And I remember him
Oh
being like,
yeah,
"How'd you get that?" kind of thing. Like there was a moment where he was actually kind of impressed by the shirt. I
nice.
got him to sign my DVD set of the Flash 90s show. Actually, we covered it in our first season of flashbacks to kind of give one of my co-hosts context for the trickster and everything because they were going to
Yeah.
allude to that. So we covered the pilot and then the trickster episode, and then honestly, like just personal stuff. I by one of my nephews, he doesn't do it anymore, but when I was younger, I have like a Flash tattoo. But then in general, he just associates me with the Flash, and so he used to call me because we have another Alex in our family. He used to call me Uncle Barry all the
Okay.
time and everything. So I have a lot of like connective tissue to the Flash, and then I have like Francis Manipul's art from the New 52 Flash on my
That's a
arm.
great
So
arc. Yeah.
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 So it's definitely one of those things. And then also something that actually relates to your rewatch thing was the first rewatch podcast I think I ever saw.
Oh,
And
thank
so I was like, cool, let me kind of do my own thing. Like, I'm not going to do the counters or anything, but
you.
let me
It's
kind
hard
of
work doing those counters, man. It was a good idea at the time, but it was a lot of hard work. Yeah.
yeah. I know. And so like I was like, well, let me, I want to maybe do my own thing with this. And so I think I remember you probably don't remember this, but how this started first before I get to that, is I came up with the name like they should have a Flash podcast and call it Flashback if you're gonna do a rewatch thing. I remember telling one of the guys I have on another show, I'm on his show now, and he said, "Oh, you should make that just for the title." I'm like, I don't know if I have time. And then I started doing it, but I think a little bit before that, I had asked you because you guys covered the '90s thing. I'm like, hey, you
Mhm.
think you're ever gonna? I wanted someone out there to make a rewatch show for the CW thing. So I think I asked you, and you were just like, I don't think we're doing that. Like you covered like the pilot and then
Yeah.
like certain odd episodes, but you kind of helped me start this thing. I'm sure you hear that a
Oh,
lot though.
yeah. Well, that's great to hear. And yeah, I thought about when I did always on the Smallville. I mean, we still do it,
Mhm.
but it's like the main
Yeah.
crux of it is concluded, right? And I'm like, well, what else is there out there, right? Well, there's Arrow, and of
Mhm.
course Lance and Kev do a great job with that. The
Yeah.
Flash is out there. We all love the Flash, but
Yeah.
I just didn't have the fire to do the Flash, especially. I mean, and no offense to the Flash. I love the Flash. The first season's amazing.
Mhm.
It's a pretty solid show after that. I love all the crossovers, but
Yeah.
it kind of just, it kind of went down in quality over the years. I didn't have that same fire and fandom that I did when it first started. I'm like, if you're gonna do a podcast like this, you gotta love what you're doing. You gotta love the show. You gotta have a lot of passion and all that. So I think, no, like as of right now, I have no plans to cover the
Yeah.
Flash episode by episode is my point. But I'm glad there are people out here they're doing it, and yeah, no, that means a lot to know that I inspired people to do their own podcasts like you, Alex. Because like I know I
Yeah.
was inspired to do this podcast. I've become friends with Tom Elliott. He does the Twilight Zone podcast. It's one of the first
Oh
podcasts
yeah.
I listened to. And he's doing episode by episode of that. I'm like, I can do that for Smallville. That's my favorite show.
Right.
And um that's how it all works, man. These fandom communities are fun. You connect and you interact you never know who's listening out there and all that sort of
Yeah.
thing. So thanks a lot. I'm glad we can finally connect and get our microphone together.
Yeah,
This was
man.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, totally. I know that also with me too, I was like, because I noticed no one else had done it yet either. So I was like, let me try this. And I know obviously you probably know this, but like through rewatch stuff, and especially like obviously I had Lance and Cavante on early. They're great. I've had them on
Hmm.
for like two crossovers and like,
Hmm.
connecting with other people, or even I had the VFX team from The Flash actually come on the show and just hearing like, some of the behind the scenes story and just some of these things like this fandom stuff because the world is so serious out there. It is really good to have these certain things that you can unite all of us basically under one roof. It is really nice to have those shared spaces.
Absolutely, man. It's a crazy world out there, and
Mm.
I just like I've heard it described as like the sandbox you play in. That
Yeah.
you escape to, and like that's what this is all about. We're all about community and camaraderie and
Hmm.
fun and the connections you make. It's fun. Like we start these shows, we start these podcasts because we love these shows and these properties through nostalgia, through memories, and all that, and kind of reliving all that, watching it again. But also
Hmm.
then the friends you make and the people you interact
Yeah.
with, and then getting to cross over with people who've worked on the shows. I mean, I got to be
Yeah.
on Talkville, and a couple times, and I've
How
got to
nuts
meet.
was that,
Yeah,
man?
yeah, that was awesome, man. I love doing
Yeah.
that, and before it's all said and done, I'll hopefully be on it again.
Yeah.
But no, that was just a real experience and kind of a not that it like gives me a stamp of like, okay, you're official now, but I mean it feels that way to me. I mean, like I started a small podcast and now I've been on Tom and Michael's small podcast, and then getting to meet people like Sam Whitwer, Jeff Johns, and have that on my podcast. Like,
Yeah.
and when I started this thing, I had no idea and goals of things like that, but you never know where the podcast journeys are going to take you. So there you go. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
journey. So
Exactly. I can't wait to see where we go in our rewatch journey. Obviously, we've had Cameo has come in a lot of handy with having some of the stars, talk about
yeah.
their time or just having like intros and stuff. So I
Mhm.
definitely have used that a little bit. But who knows? One day we might have some of the stars we had in the last episode. This will kind of come out maybe a little bit before we start our season three coverage. But we had Teddy Sears talk to 7 minutes behind the scenes about like his
Nice.
time on the show, and he had a lot of positive memories and stuff, and it was really cool, just hearing from the actual stars and stuff. I didn't do that thing that some people do. It's like, hey, you remember this one specific
No,
episode? I
you
was like,
can't
just
do that.
general,
Yeah, you
just
can't
general
do that.
stuff.
Yeah, because they all obviously have stories, but
Hmm.
you ask them specifics, the answer would be like, "Sorry, I don't remember that." Next, like, I mean, you
Yeah.
can't blame them. It's a job they did 10, 20
Yeah.
years ago. Like, you can't blame them for that.
That's like us with
Um,
podcasting, man. We're like, if
yeah,
someone said, hey, you remember when you said that one specific thing? It's like, no, I say so much on these podcasts.
right. That's just so funny to
Yeah.
me. When we were talking off mic stuff, you're telling me about stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I said
Yeah.
that. Sure, sure. That's starting to feel that way, about how
Yeah.
they feel when people ask about stuff. But no, that's a lot of fun, man. And I wish you well on your podcasting journey with the Flash.
Thank you. Hopefully, we can obviously, have you back on at some point. I know we talked about it before. And then maybe even, I don't know, come on, always on the Smallville one day. Maybe we can figure something out. But yeah, it's really great having you on. I will give you a moment to like plug your projects you're doing, and then I'll do my stuff, and then we will go into the Speed Force.
Sure. Yeah. Always on the Smallville is a podcast. You can find us on social media at Always Smallville with one S. We have covered each and every episode of Smallville. So if you have a favorite episode, start there if you want. Pick it from there. And if we're your speed, no pun intended, then check us out. And or maybe just start at the beginning if you want to get the whole
Yeah.
experience from season one all to the way to the end. We have a lot of Superman specials as well. We have some special other projects like Smallville the Ultimate Season is something we got going on right now, which is a fun project where we're picking the best episode number of each season, and that's a fun thing. So check us out right now doing that. Of course, we have a Patreon that we have a lot of extra content on. We have always on the Arrow, for example. We have always hold on to the Flash. These are shows that they're on the
Yeah.
Patreon, but they're just on our kind of network there. And I'm not on all of them. I don't have that much time. As much time as I spend podcasting, even I don't have that much time. So got a lot of good buddies, and like you said, Lance and Kev from Always on the Arrow have been on your show here before as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, we talk and watch and podcast way too much about this stuff. But like you said earlier, it's a fun escape,
Yeah.
and it's just as much about the people you're talking to than what you're talking about is what I found in podcasting. So check us out
Exactly.
out there online.
Yeah. And for me, obviously, Flashbacks, a Flash Rewatch podcast where we discuss every episode of the CW Flash show as well as some other Flash content. Like this one is the loosest one, definitely we've done, but something like this too. There is a speedster, fastest man alive. So like that's how I'm justifying this one. But anyway, we also have superhero stuff you should know. I kind of just co-host that one. That's more like if you're into unmade superhero projects, that's mostly what we cover over there. And
I've
then,
listened to that one over the years, on and off. I enjoyed that
oh
one,
yeah,
especially the old Batman stuff you guys talk about. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah,
yeah, that's awesome, man. I didn't know that.
yeah.
Cool.
So you never know
And
who's listening. You never know.
yeah, that's the biggest thing. No, no, you know what's crazy to me is honestly, I'll have people like, people I've been friends with over the years, but I haven't talked to in a long time, and run into them and they'll be like, "Hey, yo, keep the podcasting thing up. I've been listening to them." I'm like, "What, really?" Like I'll
Yeah.
just be surprised by, like you said, you never know who's listening. But
Yep.
awesome, man. And then Night of the Batman, that will come back. Eventually we're gonna do some stuff. We cover everything Batman related. Do that with my wife. She will tell you that is her show, and it is her
Mhm.
show. And then we have What Mean, that's more general movie, podcast kind of thing. And then Tangential Exchange, that's our most laid back one. We just kind of sit, drink, and kind of just try to make each other laugh. That's basically like what it'd be like hanging out with me and my best friends. So
Mhm.
yeah, all that being said, usually I do a thing where we say we will see you in the Speed Force. Sometimes I got shit from the VFX crew whenever they said I did it too flat at the end. They said you gotta
Oh,
like put some energy into it. So you can do sometimes my friend, Brady, who's my co-host, he does like a voice or something. If you just want to do it normal, you can. But usually we say it together. We'll say we'll see you in the Speed Force, and that's the end of the episode. So whenever you're ready.
all right. Let's do it.
All right, three, two, one. We will see
See
you
you
in
in the
the Speed
Speed
Force.
Force.
All right.